Good morning. Happy Wednesday. Happy 2025. Don't tell me I'm muted. I was muted. I already knew that. Such a great theme song. The best there is. Shout out Bider that's here for making that theme song. And it's good to be with you guys in 2025. Happy to be here. We made it. I look lost. Thank you. I think I'm regularly lost. I don't think that's an uncommon feeling for me to be lost. I think that's pretty normal for me. Happy New Year. What did I just do here? It's trying to add a source. There we go. Got rid of it. All right. Well, we went to bed last night after a good night hanging out. We told the rug story. We played some trivia, and then after that there was I don't know what we're calling it, an attack in New Orleans. Looks like in New Orleans somebody drove a truck through a crowd in New Orleans, and at least I think 12 confirmed dead, 30 now injured. That's where we're at on in New Orleans. Trump, he'll link this to immigration. We'll get to some of that. There seems to be a disconnect between the mayor of New Orleans and the FBI on whether or not this is a terrorist attack. I don't know how much of that we're going to cover. There's not a lot out there yet. We know that the truck had Texas license plates. We know that there was a flag that appears to be tied up. There's a lot of speculation on what that flag is. We'll get to that in a minute. But I guess Matt was ready to speak this morning. What's up, Matt? Matt? Yeah, I saw that to text. I don't know if that's true. That's unconfirmed. What's up, Matt?
Hey, what's going on?
Hey.
RTP.
Hey.
How are you?
I'm wonderful. How are you doing?
I haven't seen you in a couple months. It's like it was a couple months, before the election started. You were all over TikTok, and then you went away for a little bit. I haven't seen you in a while.
I've been live every single weekday.
I guess the algorithm isn't pushing you my way then.
Might not be, yeah. Maybe if I took my shirt off more often, I would get in your algorithm.
Yeah. Or maybe if you paid for some money a little bit more from the Democrats that you're trying to be a part of, that might work too.
If I was what?
Yeah.
No, I didn't hear what you said. That was it? That was the whole thing? That was it? Cool. I don't think that voice matched that screenshot, by the way. That was weird, right? And then he just leaves? What did he say? He said something about wanting to be part of the Democrats? Is that what he was saying? I didn't catch any of that. All right. Well, thanks for stopping by, Matt. I hope that your algorithm fixes things and you wind up coming back again. That was an absolute pleasure. Here's what we know. So, like I said, what we know so far about the attack. Here's what Trump had to say. Trump says, "When I said that criminals coming in are far worse than the criminals we have in our country, that statement was constantly refuted by Democrats and the fake news media. But it turned out to be true. That's not true. Nobody ever said that there weren't criminals. What we said is that saying that all of them are criminals or that they're raising our crime rates didn't seem to be true when they were committing crimes at a lower rate than American citizens. The crime rate in our country is at a level that nobody has ever seen before. Also a lie. We've absolutely seen this crime rate. It's much lower than it was 30 years ago. It's not that high. Our hearts are with all the innocent victims and their loved ones, including the brave officers of the New Orleans Police Department. The Trump administration will fully support the city of New Orleans as they investigate and recover from this act of pure evil." I mean, I think it's a little bit frustrating that these are the people that are consistently telling us we need to come together, and yet when we don't have details, we have no idea who this person is. There's been very few details released outside of the truck that have been confirmed, and Trump's first move is to just jump on Truth Social and be like, this is somebody who's here illegally so that he can continue his racist deportations. What's up, Tex?
Hey, what's up, man? Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, man.
You want to hear something crazy that just happened? There's a fire truck. There's a cyber truck that's on fire right now in front of Trump Towers.
Is that for real?
I just saw a post about it, and they're like, the symbolism is real.
Yeah, that's tough. Let me see. Oh man, I see it. So this is obviously like on purpose, right? They parked it like this is actually wild. You guys,
I don't know.
let me show you. It's actually pretty wild. You can see it's hard to see, but like it's just outside the door. Here's let me
Yeah, there was a huge explosion, people have been saying too. So I don't know what happened. It could have just blown. I mean, that seems pretty targeted, but who knows? Those things, they seem to have a lot of problems and recalls with them. So who knows?
A lot of people don't know this text, but you are very much against. You're not on the Elon train anymore.
I don't know. I don't think I was ever really on the Elon train. Like, I don't know. I don't really trust him. But I don't know.
You
We'll see
did
what
say I
happens.
saw you text me last night. You said that you were sure Adrian Dittman wasn't him because he was at Mar-a-Lago while Adrian Dittman was holding it live.
Yeah, he was having a space all night. Like he has a space every single day too, for like hours at a time. That's another reason why I don't think it's Elon. I don't think Elon has that type of time like that. But yeah, that was pretty convincing to me when
Real quick.
Elon was at Mar-a-Lago
Hey, text
dancing.
real quick. Jen needs to,
All right.
I think, fix something. What's up,
Look at
Jen?
my screenshot that I just sent I know it doesn't look like this while I'm in the box, but half your face is cut off.
That's crazy. It doesn't show up in the preview that way either.
Yeah.
Okay, let me.
So it doesn't look like that now that I'm up here, but when I was down below, it did.
So let's just. Is that better? Chat.
Chat, is it better?
It's Jen. Everybody's wondered if Jen's okay because she sounds like death. All right, that's better. It sounds like.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got a cold or whatever. So.
Or whatever. All right, thank you. I'll probably have to make this. What were you saying, text? Sorry.
Oh yeah, so yeah, Elon was obviously at Trump's Mar-a-Lago New Year's Eve bash all last night, and Adrian was holding the space all night. So I mean,
it's bizarre. It's bizarre. Like the weird thing is normally that would make me 100% convinced. But the weird thing is like the amount of times that Adrian Dittman has like slipped on things and like referred to himself as Elon. That's the weird part.
I think he does it on purpose. I think as time has gone on, he has sounded more and more like Elon. I'll give you that. But I think that's because he realizes that he's capitalizing.
That it's working. Why do you think? Why do you think Laura Loomer then had that?
Oh, you're on mute.
I bumped it. She was referring to Laura Loomer was referring to Elon or Adrian Dittman as Elon all the time.
I don't know. Maybe that's what she thought, but she's been coming into Adrian's spaces too every night to like talk and stuff.
Yeah, but she was calling him Elon. It was weird.
I don't know. Like I said, there's people that say they actually know who the real guy is, and he's like some scrawny dude that's like some nerd, and he lives in Germany or something. I don't know. It's just there's too many times when, like I said, like Elon has, been on stage at MSG and Adrian had his space or this or that. There's too many of those. And I don't know. First, let's face it. Elon doesn't speak clearly like that, and I know there's technology and stuff, but like you can't fake a cadence, and that's how you're able to always tell if something's like AI or not AI. Like when they do like Joe Rogan ads in his voice, you can tell it's easily not. But you can't fake that type of cadence. Like Elon stutters; he sounds like an idiot half the time.
We're really turning on Elon. I don't know. Either way, it's probably a distraction, but it is. I want it to be true, so we'll see. I'm down to like 20% sure that it's Elon. I've now flipped, but I'm still holding out. Look,
do you think it's a good idea to buy some Palantir stock?
Palantir.
Palantir.
I don't know. You don't want to ask me for financial advice. I'm not the person to ask about that shit.
But I feel like because they're all behind it, like, and now they're in office. I don't know. That seems like a safe bet, but I don't know.
So are you more concerned now that you fall? I can't figure you out because like you do follow pretty closely a lot of white nationalists. Like when Nick Fuentes says something. And I think that your algorithm is like who are the people that mostly show up in your algorithm?
Like Jack Posobiec, Tucker Carlson, Fuentes.
So yeah, it's pretty much like the white nationalist. Are you a white nationalist?
No.
Well, how do you describe your politics then? Because that's the hard part for me to understand. Like, I don't. Everybody you follow is like so clearly a white nationalist.
I mean, on X, like I also get a lot of like liberal creators too. Like it's not just that's not all I see on my timeline. Like
Yeah.
I don't. There's people that I don't even like or want to see that pop up on my timeline, like the Brooklyn Dad, Pate, whatever the fuck his name is.
You don't like
and
Brooklyn
Harry
Dad?
Sisson
like
and all these like that's constantly on my timeline.
It's probably
So,
because
like,
you're commenting on their stuff.
Sometimes.
Probably, yeah, that's probably what it is. Would you say like Christian nationalist? Maybe you're like more of a Christian nationalist.
I don't really know if I like fit under any category like that. I don't really define myself like that.
All right. You support the mass deportations?
Of people who are here illegally that are criminals, yeah.
So just people who have committed a crime who are here illegally.
Yeah.
Okay, so you don't support like the Tom Homan, literally everybody who's here illegally.
Well, I don't really think he's going to do that.
Well, I don't know if he can. I mean, his position's made up too. His position's just as made up as Elon's is. But if he I'm just saying like the idea.
I mean,
that's what he says he wants to do.
He's kind of already backtracked on it and said that like that's not what they're going to do.
I read quotes. I've got quotes from him this morning where he's saying that that's absolutely what they're going to do. So I don't know what Tom Homan's. I don't know what his deal is. If I didn't see the part of him backtracking, but I saw quotes this morning from him saying that that's what they're going to do.
All right. So here's how I view it. I mean, if you're here illegally, yeah. Do I want them to do it? Do I like? Am I like? Is that like am I excited for it? No. But if you're here illegally, and yeah, I would be fine with that with them being deported. Honestly,
why though?
It would be sad. I would hate to see families broken up and stuff. But if you're here illegally and that's what they feel they need to do to fix the country, then I'd be okay with it.
Okay, so you're saying if that's what they feel, but like if there doesn't seem to be any evidence that deported. In fact, almost all the evidence shows
Elon is not an illegal immigrant, so I don't know.
Well, he was,
but he's no longer. I'm saying people who are here undocumented right now.
Okay, right, but he wasn't. He was at one point illegal, right?
Allegedly.
I don't know if that's allegedly. I was trying to figure this out the other day. He claims that he came here on an H-1B visa, but I've heard him but he was a student. And if you come on an H-1B visa, you have to work. And he was saying he wasn't working. I don't
That's what I'm saying. We don't have definitive proof whether he was an illegal immigrant at one point.
Well, either way he was doing something illegal. If he was here on an H-1B visa and he wasn't working and he was going to school, then he wasn't here for the purpose of his visa. If he was here on a student visa and he let that lapse and he was working because he dropped out of school, then he was also here illegally in that way. So either way, he would have done something illegal.
Yeah, well, like I said, I would be fine with them. I wouldn't be upset if they just deported people who have committed violent crimes. But at the same time, we voted for Trump. That's what the people wanted. He ran on mass deportations. So if he follows through with what he said he was going to do, no, I'm not going to push against that. No.
That's interesting. So if it's a campaign promise, even if you're against it, you won't push back against it?
Right. If he said he was going to do it, the same, and it's the same thing with this H-1B thing that I'm not arguing that either, because Trump clearly said before this, when he met with David Sachs on the All In podcast, that that this was his plan with the H-1B visas.
So help me explain. To come here to work, and if we deport 20 million people who are here illegally, like that's going to take a chunk out of labor. It seems like Trump is saying like, hey, I'm cool getting labor for my rich friends, but if it's for just like everyday people, I'm not really going to do anything for those people. So they're taking away workers that agriculture desperately needs, and then they're going to add workers to the tech industry.
You know what I think would be like a great idea for them to do?
Wait, but hold on. Before we go to that, do you understand? Like,
well, this has to do with that.
Okay, go ahead.
If we need these people, And like you said, if he does do the mass deportations, it could, affect the economy and everything. So I don't know why they don't just do this, right? They give it's like a 6-month period. You have 6 months to prove who you are, show that you don't have a criminal record, and yes, and then we can give you a path to citizenship. But that requires these people to actually disclose who they are, prove that they don't have any they don't have any record.
This is
or
called
anything.
amnesty, right?
I don't know. Is that? I don't know.
Yeah, this is amnesty, basically, like that give people the ability to come out of hiding, and as long as they don't have a criminal record, they're given a pathway to citizenship. This is exactly.
I would be fine with that. Yeah.
Well, Trump fought against that, though.
I didn't know that.
That's the thing. Like if he's going to be a person who says, like, if we need labor, then we don't have the labor available, we're going to import labor. If that's honestly like the principle he's living by, it seems like he only lives by that principle when it comes to like his rich friends.
Well, this is what I would say would be like a compromise. Like instead of just going around and deporting everyone who's here illegally, give the people who are actually here. I would have more requirements than that too.
It's literally Kamala's plan. That's crazy.
I would have more requirements. Show that you hold the job. Show that maybe a drug test. You're not on drugs. You have no criminal affiliations. You have no gang affiliations, and like make it strenuous, like a long checklist of things that you need to do. And then, we can, and then put them on like a probation period or something like that.
Yeah,
but this way we know who these people
that's
are.
literally been the Democrat plan since Obama.
But and then just deport everyone that doesn't follow these guidelines.
Yeah, Obama was better at that. Biden's better at that. Both of them deported a higher percentage of people than Trump did.
Oh, I know. I told you that. I realized that afterwards. Remember, I told you with the charge and everything. I realized that like immigration actually skyrocketed at the end of his term.
Yeah, it's just interesting. Like,
and that's also why I said a couple of weeks ago, I'm not as optimistic. Like, well, I'm giving him a chance. Like, I'm just giving him a chance to see what happens. I'm not dooming and glooming like everyone else is, and like getting into the nonsense of the Civil War and all this shit between.
First of all, the Civil War's been hilarious. So
it has. I've actually found it pretty funny too. That's why I've been just watching from the sidelines. But
yeah, I just that's all I wanted to really know. Is it just seems like it's just interesting that I wonder if you recognize how important how impactful messaging is, because we have, like, most Republicans, once the election was over, they're like, all right, now let's be serious about what we want. And what they actually want is basically what Kamala was advocating for. Why do you think so many people didn't vote for her, and yet now they're like saying that her policies are exactly what they want?
No, we went through this too, because she's a woman.
Yeah, some of it's misogyny for sure, right?
Yeah.
What do we do to fix that?
And probably racism too. They see her as an Indian woman, and that's probably why too.
How do we get folks like you to confront this stuff before the election's over? I don't think this is a conversation you and I would have had pre-election. Is it just like on your side of the aisle? Are you just like, I don't want to really admit fault on anything?
Well, no,
I think we do that too.
That was one of the reasons I think I was blocked and kicked from your thing, because I said I wouldn't vote for her specifically because she was a woman.
You did?
Yeah.
Wait, why?
That's just, I told you, I was just being honest with you. I just didn't.
No, I believe you, but why? Why wouldn't you vote for a woman?
Well, it was not just that she was a woman. It was like a multiple of things, but that was definitely one of the reasons.
But why is that a reason?
I just feel like it would make the country kind of look weak.
Why?
It's just I don't know. That's how I felt.
So does that mean
I don't know if it's true. That's just how I felt at the time. You're asking me.
No, I know. Listen, yeah, I know I'm asking for your opinion. I know you can't always catch it. Are you saying that would mean like you think women shouldn't lead?
Yeah, it doesn't give us like a strong show of force, I feel like.
So your view of a leader is somebody who is going to use force?
No, it just makes the country look strong.
I mean, if I mean Donald Trump's like 80, dude. I don't know how strong he looks. It
Yeah, but
seems
he's
like
like bombastic and unexpected, and you don't know what he's gonna do. Like,
okay. Yeah, I think this is
I'm not saying this is right either,
No, I know.
and I'm not saying that she couldn't have been a great leader. I'm telling you, like, my perceived notion. Like, that's just how I felt.
That's honestly, I know it pisses off people in the chat, but like I appreciate you being candid. I think that's kind of like the first for me, like that was kind of the first step for me to say, like, all right, I'm gonna get my own views and not just follow a party. Part of that was realizing that there's stuff in that is inside of us that we don't even necessarily recognize. I for sure was a person who said like, oh, women shouldn't lead the country. How are they going to lead the military? I for sure was that person. So I think I can like I at least I can fathom having that feeling. But I'm wondering now that you recognize it and that you're open about it, like, do you want to change that view? Like, do you want that to be, or do you want to be more open-minded and think like maybe a woman can run this country?
Well, that's the thing where
Like, you
it's
have a
kind of
wife,
like,
right? Like,
yeah,
so
I
obviously
actually just
you would
found
know how to love
I actually
somebody.
just found out that I'm going to be a dad yesterday.
Oh, congratulations!
Kind of excited. Yeah, I'm pretty happy about that.
That'll
yeah,
change.
she's,
That'll change some shit once you have a kid
Yeah, I'm
and
sure
you're
it
thinking
will.
like not just your future, but the future, how the country's going to look for your child. Especially,
Yeah,
I
I'm
mean,
kind of like in shock still.
how do you think you're going to feel if you have a baby girl? How are you going to feel about her future in this country?
Well, actually, that's what I want. I want to have a girl.
How would you feel knowing now? Like, I think you recognize at least in yourself that uh, for a lot of people, where how far a woman can go or how much how far up the ladder a woman can go is capped for a lot of people. Do you feel like your daughter is coming into a world where a lot of people around her don't think she should ever lead?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of people that obviously do then too, because I mean, we do have a woman as vice president right now, right?
Yeah, yeah, we do.
So
I'm
that
saying on
shows
yours,
how.
but I was saying specifically like on your side of the aisle. There's certainly people on our side of the aisle who aren't going to vote for a woman. They'll never admit it out loud. But there's more on our side of the aisle than you. I mean, we've had 2 of the last 3 people we put up for president have been women. So it's pretty clear that most people in our party think that that's a good idea.
Well, here's where I'm gonna contradict myself. Maybe I would have been more open if Kamala was a Republican, and on our side.
Were you
Maybe I
open
would.
to Nikki Haley?
Well, I kind of was at first, and then I kind of like everyone was kind of attacking her, so I was like, all right, maybe she's not as great. Like I kind of liked her at first, but then I found out like she was on the board of like all these
Oh, that's right. You don't like the
war defense contractor things. That's why like she was just a war hawk, basically.
Okay. I mean, I feel like that. I feel like that was exposed a little bit yesterday that the Republicans are war hawks. But this is a tough question. Would you want if let's say you have a daughter, would you want your daughter to marry somebody with your views?
Yeah.
Your views on women?
Well, what are my views on women?
That maybe they shouldn't be president? Even if you tend to agree with them more than the other candidate?
That's not. I didn't say they shouldn't be president. You're asking me why I voted for Trump over
No,
her.
look, I don't think this. Honestly, like I would say the same thing with my daughter. Like I would want my daughter to date somebody better than me. I don't think that's a problem. I think it's made me a better person, the fact that I have a daughter and recognizing that, I could be better, and I would rather her wind up with somebody who doesn't have the same weaknesses I do, or at least is a little bit more evolved than I am. I don't think it's like an awful thing to say.
Yeah, of course I'd want her to marry someone better than me. Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So would you
I agree
want
with
would
that.
you want that person to not have any hesitation voting for a woman, or allowing, let's say that, your daughter winds up being
I
a
wouldn't
politician
want her to
and her
marry
husband
someone.
her
I
husband
wouldn't
has to
want
take
her
a
to.
back seat.
Yeah, I wouldn't want her to marry someone. Okay, ready? I wouldn't want her to marry someone that would want a woman to be president just because she's a woman and a woman of color at that.
Yeah, no, I
Like,
agree
I
with
would
that.
want there to be more merit, and like I would, like that's like I don't want them to vote for someone just because of their skin color or their gender. Like,
But then you must also recognize that like every president we've ever had before Obama was a white dude, right? And some of these people were deeply flawed, and it seems that they maybe got to that level of power simply because of their gender and their skin color, despite them being woefully unqualified.
well, I think that just goes into demographics. So, like, this country has mostly been white.
Well, yeah, but even if you just take the percentages, right? 47 presidents, all but one were white men, and all were men. I mean, men are a minority population.
Well, I mean, even in the Constitution, it doesn't say anything about women.
I know. I listen. They didn't want women serving in politics.
Right. So,
Our
I
founding
mean,
fathers were misogynists.
so maybe we should just get rid of the Constitution then.
Well, I mean, that's the point of the Constitution, is that it's a document that can be amended. Like, you can change things in the Constitution. So I think you build on the stuff that you like, but.
Yeah, I mean, and that, I don't want you to think that was the main reason I didn't vote for her.
What was
It
the
was
main reason?
well, because we've had four. I feel like we've had 4 years of her, and I don't know.
Do you
Like,
really believe that, though?
yeah, because I feel like Biden is not really all there, and I feel like that's what the vice president does when the president's not all there. You step in and do help. Like, I always thought that's what the vice president does.
Okay. So what about the last 4 years then made you feel like, all right, we can't do 4 more years of this?
Well, it's not that. I just wanted new. I wanted new.
But you went with old. We already had Trump. That's not new.
Well,
That's old.
it's like a new old.
Well, yeah, it's older. It's like it's an older one. Like, she would have been new. She would have been more new than him.
Yeah, yeah. Well, like I said,
Is it
I'm
is it
still.
fair to
I'm
say
not.
you're not 100% sure why you voted for Trump?
Uh, yeah, and I wouldn't say I'm 100% sure. I just went with my gut feeling.
Yeah. And do you like, the thing about a gut feeling is a gut feeling can be um like it's our own internal thoughts, right? So if we have internal bias already and we're just voting based on our gut feeling, mostly what we're voting on is our own internal bias.
Well, yeah, and I also think that comes from, you have to understand, like, I grew up listening to Fox News since I was a kid. Like, my
Same.
dad has always been a really conservative. My uncle is head of the Republican Club for New York. Like, it's just I feel like it's in my blood to vote that. Like, I would feel like a traitor if I voted Democrat, and like I feel like my family
They would
would
treat you like
disown
one
me.
too. I could, as somebody who stopped voting Republican with basically the same pedigree, except for I worked in politics, I can tell you that, yeah, they would view you as a traitor, 100%.
Yeah, and I just couldn't do that. I wouldn't do that. Like, families means a lot to me. I wouldn't do that.
Well, what does that say about your family, though?
Well, I mean, my family, my dad has, like I said, always been a conservative Republican, and he's very successful. He does well,
Same with my
and
parents. Like, I look at them that way, but like, if there's people, if your family is going to disown you over your political beliefs, then maybe like,
well, no, well, I said, all right. So I said that's how I feel. It's not true, because I have a brother who's like 21, college student in engineering, like, and he just doesn't talk about his political beliefs because we know he's a liberal, and
yeah,
like,
that's crazy, right? Like,
and my dad knows he's a liberal too, but he hasn't disowned him or anything. He still loves him as his son. We still talk. My brother still comes here to visit me and stuff. Like,
but why
he
can't
knows that we're
why do you think
far
families
right.
can't have these discussions then? Like, same thing. If I say the word Trump to any member of my family, that they will literally change the subject. They will not talk about it.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
tough.
We don't.
I don't think that's good for society. Like, I think we've spent a lot of time specifically on this other side of the aisle of talking about common sense and how America has lost their way. I don't think that most people on the right have a fucking clue what we believe. I really don't. I think that, and maybe that's the same both ways. For a generic lefty, like I have family who's on the right and friends, so I think I have a pretty good idea of what the right believes. But I think that this type of thinking and this type, like even saying like it's in my blood to vote Republican, that sets you up to vote for awful people. And that sets you up to allow awful people into office, which I think we've seen. I think you're realizing that like the blind loyalty to Donald Trump has opened this up to the dumbest and most corrupt cabinet I've ever seen assembled.
Yeah,
Like
I mean, I said, I'm
billionaires
giving them the benefit of the doubt. Like, I know you
Fair
said
enough.
it wasn't a landslide, but I mean, he did win 7 out of 7 swing states. Like that seems like a landslide to me.
Yeah, but it's a landslide in a rigged system, right? Like
Oh
he
yeah, I
won,
wanted to talk about this.
he won
Go
2
ahead.
million by 2 million votes. Biden won
Something
by
like that.
7 million votes. Hillary won by I think 3 million votes. It's for the last 3 elections. If you're just talking about how many people support him, it's the closest election we've had.
Yeah, I mean, he has the highest amount of votes for a Republican candidate ever. So I mean, that says a lot.
Yeah, and he only won by 2 million.
Yeah, it was a close. He wasn't supposed to win. No one thought he was going to win the popular vote. So the fact that he did
That's
that, yeah,
That's true.
But I wanted to ask you about that because I remember he was talking about, oh, you know, you don't think it was fair with Elon contributing and blah blah blah. But like that's what they've always done. I mean, not in that amount, but like, what do you suggest that he's not allowed to do that? Is
Yes.
that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, and what's that going to change?
All money should be out of elections. There's a ruling. I'm sure you've heard it because you've been here. But the ruling of Citizens United, like that ruined everything. And it's not to say that we haven't had people like George Soros or Zuckerberg a few elections ago, or Bill Gates who have donated massive amounts of money because they have. I don't want them to be able to donate money either. There's no such thing as an ethical billionaire. The last thing I want is the least ethical people in our country influencing elections the most.
I don't know. I just feel like you guys say like Elon's not ethical now because he's not on your side.
No, he's
anymore.
never. There's no such thing as an ethical billionaire. Nobody can become a billionaire being ethical. I've never heard of one.
Well, no. All right. So yeah, I agree with that actually. And plus, I've actually done some research on like how he even came to be where he is, and same thing with Vivek actually. The way that he like pumped and dumped in Alzheimer's, I thought that was extremely fucked up. And he had his mom, who was a doctor, like push this drug that they knew didn't work. And my great grandmother had Alzheimer's, so that kind of like after I heard that, I don't like Vivek at all anymore.
Yeah, we've done this thing in America where we say that like money equals success or money equals intelligence, and if you're rich, therefore you're intelligent. No, it means you're good at capitalism. You know what I mean? Like, I honestly, and I don't find Elon Musk that intelligent. I think Elon Musk is intelligent on things that I probably don't understand. But like, this is a person who is uncomfortable having a conversation with another human being. He's bad at speaking to other human beings. He doesn't understand how
Hold on, I just want to interrupt real quick.
Go ahead.
Well, that's like Asperger's though. Just because you're not good at communicating with people, like the brother I was just telling you about, he has the same thing. He's like very socially awkward, but he's a fucking genius. Like this kid is top of his class.
Right,
like,
but Elon, if Elon was out there like pushing his money and he was like, "Hey, here's what I'm really smart at, and here's where I'm going to use my money for influence," and he's going to talk about, like, if he wants to talk about reusing rocket parts and not just having them be a one-time use, cool. If he wants to talk about the successes with Starlink, cool. If he wants to talk about like the success he had in building up Tesla, cool. But the problem with Elon is everybody's listening to Elon about stuff he doesn't have a fucking clue about. He's not talking about the stuff that he understands well. He's talking almost exclusively exclusively about the things that he's worst at.
So what are you supposed to do? Silence him and say he's not allowed to speak on politics?
Well, no, what you should say is you can't put your money into politics that way.
But isn't that kind of like taking away people's freedom?
Do you have the ability to put $270 million into an election?
If I had the money, I should be able to.
Yeah. So doesn't that mean that he has like an oversized voice? Do you think that one person, like that people should have a bigger voice because of how much money they have?
No, but that's just the way of life. Like,
but it didn't used to be. This happened with Citizens United when they ruled that.
Okay, so what was it before Citizens United? I don't know.
There was caps on how much you could give to a presidential candidate, and those still exist. But let's say the cap, I think a cap might have been like $1,500. That was it. All Elon would have been able to do is give $1,500.
Yeah, I would be fine if they did that, but on both sides, obviously. Like,
yeah. Look, there's legislation introduced to end Citizens United. Bernie Sanders, AOC, they've been all over this. And I think that we can maybe get some Republican support there too, especially if we can find Republicans right now that are upset that Elon seems to be running the show.
Yeah, and I just saw it. There's a clip, if you can find it on X. Maybe you were going to play it today, but it's Trump in 2016 talking about H-1B. It's Trump in 2020 talking about H-1B, and it's him talking about it last night, and it's really funny. You can play that.
Do you ever think about, like, I know I think it's cool that you're recognizing. I think I did play him, how he flip flops. Do you think now you might be able to have a more open mind and look at the stuff that he actually has said and done, and how many times he's lied or not delivered on something he said? Because the hard part about when you leave like a group and a group that's tribal, like it is in politics or like it is in religion, when you leave that group and you discover like that the leader of that group wasn't who you thought, at least on one thing. If you open your mind, if you say, all right, well, let's look at everything he said. Now that I know that this person will lie to me, let's see what else they lied about. I think if you went on that journey, you would be shocked at how much you were lied about. Just even little stuff like how taxing billionaires helps, like how cutting taxes helps the middle class. It doesn't. There's no evidence for that. But and when you realize that everything the Republicans do are just benefiting rich people, literally everything they do, the things that they claim they oppose, all of it is just to the benefit of rich people. And it's never for you guys. But what they do is they tell you, like, you can be like us. Here's the roadmap to be like us. Let us write the legislation and we'll make it easier for you to be like us. Well, of course, that's not what they're going to do. If it's easier for you to be like them, that means they'll make less money. Like you look at any of these billionaires right now, not one of them could become a billionaire again in the same industry, right? Elon could not start an electric car manufacturer again and become a billionaire because they're doing away with those subsidies now. They have an idea, they corner the market, they become so big that nobody can compete with them, and that's how they become billionaires.
Yeah, I mean, that is pretty crazy how he doubled his net worth like since the election. I think it was.
Yeah, and there's 13 of these people in Trump's cabinet. 13 billionaires, and they're influencing everything from border policy to economic policy to education. They're influencing now the House when they're talking about the budget. Like, it's just a bunch of billionaires in charge. And I wonder, I don't trust them. I don't think anybody trusts them. I can't figure out why Republicans are like, yeah, this is fine.
Well, like I said, it's something that we haven't had before, so I'm fine with giving it a chance.
All right. Well, have a short leash on it, will you?
I mean, I think I have been.
I agree. All right, brother. I got to get going.
All right. Take care, bro.
See you.
Bye.
Country united together. What is this picture? Welcome. Thanks for being patient. Maybe not. Maybe they weren't. All I hear is Elon RTP. All right, let's get back to the outline then today. Where is it? There we go. We'll end that Trump Tower. That was Trump Tower out there. Apparently, a Cybertruck ignited outside of Trump Tower. Hey, Jen. Oh, shit. I haven't done any checks. Hey,
No, you haven't. Do you have any messages you want to read?
I'll pull them up right now.
So I'm gonna send you a link too for the invite thing. See how the 613? Remember I sent you the screenshot this morning about the gift goal?
Yeah.
I think we have to change the goal numbers because they're different. So if you guys haven't subscribed to us here on TikTok, please go do so on our YouTube, RTP Talks. If you're not subscribed to us over there, you're gonna miss out because I'm gonna share last night's New Year's Eve live as a subscriber only perk. So if you missed out on the fun story, you'll want to go subscribe to YouTube because you'll get to see it then. We've got a gift goal. I'm sure then, since Jay hasn't read any messages, and it looks like you've got a good one because you've got a little chuckle on your face.
No, I was laughing at, that we're making it subscriber. I was just thinking about last night. Actually, last night was really funny. If you guys missed last night, it's a really funny live. I think you'll enjoy it.
Yeah, so I'm going to turn it on to subscriber only so you can view last night's live, but it won't be for everybody. Yeah, subscribe here on YouTube, TikTok. We've got merch, gift goal. We'll be out of here at 1 Pacific Standard Time and it's currently 10:15. So let's just knock it out in the next 15 minutes, and I won't have to ask anymore.
There we go. Thanks, Jen.
All right.
All right. From Bree this morning, Happy New Year, Poppy. Can't wait to continue having great moments with you this year and getting more creative in turning your face red. Just a little teaser. I restart my pole adventures next week if you're up for a private show. I can't promise that it won't end in coitus. All right. Thank you. I bet I can promise that. I bet. Tiffany says, listening to text is both infuriating and eye-opening. I hate it, and I also love it. Happy New Year. Yeah, look, that's kind of one of my goals this year is to have uncomfortable conversations, and some of them are going to be uncomfortable for you as well. The main thing I want to do is I think that people are more comfortable saying what their real beliefs are if you don't just absolutely cancel them the second they share their beliefs, because some people come to beliefs in a misguided way. Sometimes we can help, sometimes we can't. Sometimes nothing changes, but ultimately we get a glimpse into what motivates certain people, and I think that's useful. Just like as humans, I think that's useful. Let's see, there was one that came through on PayPal. I don't know if it had a message. Give me 1 second. Mary said, for RTP Media. Thank you, Mary. Appreciate it. And I will update the goal while we play Bree's song.
Bree's trying to fuck RTP. She'll make him better than a cherry. Bree's trying to fuck RTP. Bree's trying to fuck RTP.
Yeah. All right, now I have to do math. Hold on 1 second. Cool. Got it. Also, a message just came in from Mark, and Mark says, so the guest feels we should just give Smittler a chance because we haven't had it before. Yeah, I hear that. Like, the hard part is, and I think this would have been the hard part then. Like, people don't want to believe the worst in who they support. So it's kind of like you almost have to baby step people to acknowledge, like, this is similar. And I think maybe one of the ways that we failed in messaging this is starting with the Schmittler. I think maybe like, I don't really care. I don't really care about comparing anybody to anybody else. But if we use historical events that are happening at the same time, we can at least say, like, hey, this is a step towards authoritarianism. You know what I mean? Like that, I think that's probably the way to go, is just say, like, this, if you don't want authoritarianism, then every time there's an option to do the authoritarian thing or the right thing, maybe don't choose the authoritarian thing. And I think that's maybe how you fix the messaging. Somebody said the Bourbon Street guy was identified. Do we have that, Jen? Let's see. Let's see if Trump was right. Look that up and see if they identified him. I still don't see anything. Do you guys have anything in the chat? All right. This is, I don't trust this account. It has no retweets. This is from Fox News. Suspect identified. This is from a minute ago. Let's see. Shamsu Din Jabbar. Suspect accused of mowing down a crowd of New Year's revelers on Bourbon Street in New Orleans early Wednesday has been identified as Shamsa Dun Jabbar. Jabbar is a 42-year-old resident of Houston, Texas. Police shot and unalived him after he crashed his pickup and began to shoot at officers. They found a handgun, a rifle with optics and sensor, and the flag was that black flag, which many people had guessed was an ISIS flag. So this is, it looks like now being, and now the FBI is saying it's a terrorist attack. Jesus. Great. Islamic State flag, now ISIS flag on and in truck, born in the United States, American-born, American citizen. Yeah, I was watching a video yesterday about it was like a online battle between Anonymous and ISIS. And Anonymous basically recognized that ISIS was able to, I don't know if I'm allowed to say that word, that they were able to recruit using online tools, and they targeted Americans. So that would not be terribly surprising. Sugar Bowl got postponed to tomorrow. I didn't see that. Isn't the black flag the MAGA take no prisoners? No, look, there were a lot of people speculating the black flag. I was thinking there were some that it could be. You could have like the "Don't Tread on Me" flag is often black, at least around the edges. Obviously, the ISIS flag could have been. Is Antifa's flag black? There were a lot of people guessing what the flag might be, but yeah, it looks like it was a terrorist attack. So. Shout out to our New Orleans friends. That's fucking awful. Let me pull up. I don't know how we're going to do this. All right. I wanted to do a year in review today, and I'm going to take a little bit of time to do my year in review. And then our awesome research team has pulled clips from our favorite Democrats and some of our favorite Republicans in their best moments of 2024. So I'm gonna show you a whole bunch of clips. I hope you enjoy it. But I'm gonna do my year in review first. I want to show this video. This is from NBC News. Thanks NBC for this. Appreciate it. How do I move this over? There we go.
Get in, loser.
I'm anxiety. Where can I put my stuff?
Yes, we are emergency. We are depressurized.
Dude, that's one of those drones.
Swarms of drones the size of small cars have been spotted over parts of New Jersey.
Sonny Williams and Butch Wilmore have been stuck in space for more than 150 days.
The Francis Scott Key Bridge struck by a cargo ship and collapsing overnight. In Spain, more than 155 people have died from devastating flash floods.
The most powerful quake to strike Taiwan in a quarter century. A magnitude 7.4.
Breaking news about an earthquake that has just jolted the Northeast.
Holy my whole house just shook.
That dog was...
Hurricane Helene nears landfall.
We lost everything.
I apologize. This is just horrific.
A series of dangerous tornadoes touching down throughout south central Florida.
It's starting to turn dire. At first we had, okay, we gotta go.
Asheville remains largely cut off from relief.
Nobody's gonna help us.
You know you're not forgotten. No, we know we're not forgotten. And we thank you guys.
4 American citizens detained in Russia have just been released.
Thousands protesting Venezuela's contested election, condemning leader Nicolás Maduro.
Mexico electing the first woman president.
The regime has collapsed, and you notice that the second you enter this country.
King Charles III has been diagnosed with cancer.
It has been an incredibly tough couple of months for our entire family.
That stunning update from Kate Middleton, telling the world she's been diagnosed with cancer.
It's unbelievable this all happened in a year.
We have nothing to do with Hamas. Why you send Dailu Kabsa?
We will continue to do what is necessary to defend our country and defend our people.
Iran launched a ballistic missile attack against Israel.
Israel marking 1 year since that horrific attack by Hamas. 4 hostages who were kidnapped by Hamas 245 days ago are now free.
אני מבקש להודות לצבא האיכותי.
Police in riot gear have entered Columbia University's campus.
Like, honestly, watching this, I can't believe some of these were this past year. Like, they seem so long ago.
Turning to Lebanon, where pagers belonging to Hezbollah members exploded across the country.
Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar is dead, killed in a gunfight in the southern city of Rafah.
Benjamin Netanyahu back criminal responsibility.
The International Criminal Court has just issued an arrest warrant for Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu.
I'm pleased to announce that their governments have accepted the United States proposal to end the devastating conflict between Israel and Hezbollah.
You can find this video in our Discord.
1,000 days of war with Russia.
A manhunt is underway right now for the gunman who shot and killed the top executive of America's largest private health insurance company.
26-year-old Luigi Mangione was arraigned on felony weapons charges.
A suspected shooter opened fire in Appalachia High School.
If something like this can happen here, it could happen anywhere.
Jennifer Crumbly, the first parent in the U.S. ever charged in connection to a school shooting.
Guilty of involuntary manslaughter.
Chaos at the Super Bowl victory parade.
There was gunshots.
My kids getting hurt and me being dead would be... I just can't think about that.
NBC News confirmed that O.J. Simpson has died at the age of 76.
It wasn't all bad things.
I believe that they have paid their debt to society.
Count 1, guilty. Count 2, guilty. Count 3, guilty. That is 34 felony counts here, all guilty.
Former President Trump is immune for...
I will never in my life understand how after that moment, people just didn't give a fuck. That was the like, all of this is shocking, but like, we're kind of used to violence. That was the moment for me when 34 felony counts and MAGA went, and America went, we'll just put him back in office. I don't think I'll ever have much of an understanding for that. How so many people in America just thought, it's fine. Like, I know this guy doesn't keep the law, but it's fine.
For official acts as president.
Special counsel Jack Smith dropping all criminal charges against President-elect Trump. So on all 3 counts, Hunter Biden, the president's son, is found guilty.
President Biden has pardoned his son Hunter.
Welcome to a big night in politics, and the countdown has begun.
I will not stop using my voice for the things I believe in.
It's time for the next generation.
Yeah. Who said they still don't think he was convicted? Yeah, I was in that live the other day, and I'm like, why? Like, this is why we can't come together on things. Like, you guys won't even admit that he's a convicted felon. How do you reconcile that? How do you find commonplace with somebody who's like, you're not a convicted felon until you're sentenced? No, that's not how any of this works. Like, if they read that you're guilty, you are convicted. That's what happens. That's a good point. It's hard, and that's why, and I think that's why, like, we have to have conversations with people that maybe nobody wants to hear from because they've been upset with those people for a year. But that might be why, because what we did last year didn't work.
Leadership.
Everything we have to do with, look, we finally beat Medicare.
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either.
It's up to the president to decide if he is going to run.
I'm staying in the race.
You want to really see something that said, take a look at what happened.
I love that, people over profit. I love that.
The next president of the United States, Donald J. Trump.
Yeah, Hulk Hogan. I forgot we had Hulk Hogan.
Step aside as the presumptive Democratic nominee.
The best way forward is to pass the torch to a new generation.
For the first time, the Democratic ticket taking the stage together.
I missed Tim Walz already.
In this election, we each face a question.
What is Brat Summer?
You think you just fell out of a coconut tree? You're green.
Hope is making a comeback.
Kamala Harris!
You're not running against Joe Biden, you're running against me.
They're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats.
Yeah, and that one. How did Jesus Christ, how did that not end it? They're eating like the way it wasn't the way like just that he said it. It was even just the tone and the I can't hear it without the beat now. I can't hear it not in song form, but like I don't know how this guy was taken seriously.
You're running against me.
They're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats.
And then like a majority of voting Americans were like, "Yep, that's where we're going. We're going with the guy who thinks that immigrants are eating our pets."
Of moments where each of the candidates turned to each other and said, "I agree with you."
I agree, Governor. I agree. I agree with a lot of what Senator Vance said. I agree with you.
But I do like the franchise.
The American people want to stop the chaos and end the drama.
The headline is super consistent. This race is still extremely competitive.
Welcome to our live coverage of Election Night 2024.
If this race does not go Kamala Harris's way, this is a moment of reckoning for the Democratic Party.
The next president of the United States is Donald Trump.
This will truly be the golden age of America.
Trump prevailed.
I have no idea where the country goes from here. I'm excited
I've seen it. This is we're doing exposure therapy today, guys. That's what we're doing. Matt, you're gonna have to wait a couple more minutes, bud. About 38 more seconds, actually.
It's just so surreal. Dreams can become reality.
We're all one people. We're on this very fragile, small planet.
Oh my God, that stinks.
There we go. Thanks NBC for that. Matt, you ready? Matt's got some more knowledge to drop on us here. Hey, Matt, welcome back. Hey, Matt. Matt? If Matt's talking, I can't hear him. Can you guys hear him? I can't hear Matt. He's muted. Matt, are you muted, bud? He's finishing a set. All right, Matt. Have a good day, bud. Have a nice one. All right. This was I didn't see this last night. I was in bed before the ball dropped. Andy Cohen had a night. We'll just say that. I don't really know who Andy Cohen is, if we're being honest. I have no idea actually who Andy Cohen is, other than I've seen him on TV. But Andy Cohen was sauced to the gills, and he decided to try and call out Eric Adams. And Anderson Silva is just along for the ride. Anderson Cooper is along for the ride here. But here is Andy Cohen calling out New York City Mayor Eric Adams, and it's kind of insane, if we're being honest.
I mean, the mayor's still running around.
Enough. No.
Really?
Kindness in 2025. Kindness.
He's indicted.
Be kind, because everybody you meet is fighting a great battle.
Yes.
Be kind.
I know the battle he's fighting.
Because everybody
a bunch of
you meet
indictments.
is
That's what he's
great.
fighting.
Stop. Dial it down. Bring it into the new year right.
Okay. So there was that one. And then they had on Diplo. Diplo showed up, and Diplo was elevated in a different way. Here's Diplo. Sorry, you can maybe barely hear this, but here's Diplo. And Anderson Cooper just had a night. He didn't know what was going on.
You shared earlier that you ran the 2023 LA Marathon.
Diplo's a DJ.
While on LSD. How is that possible? What was that like?
I just think it makes your mind work. You move faster. You're able to incorporate your body. It just was a little hack I had. I think it's illegal in the Olympics, but it was fun.
Wow. What is the most, I'm so curious, what's the most conventional place that you've done out?
Guys, the volume sucks. Sorry. It's as loud as it gets. Look, there's the volume. That's as loud as it gets. Here's the question was, sorry. All right, so the first part is, where have you done, you ran the New York Marathon on the ABC drug that they're talking about. And he's like, yeah, it helped. And then he's asked, like, where's the craziest place where you've been on that ABC drug? And he says,
Done LSD.
right now.
Right now?
This one, the helicopter.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Please. Oh my God. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Please tell me.
I'm not even lying.
You're tripping right now?
Yeah.
So look, how else would this year end? How else would this year end? I understand people wanting to go in through New Year's tripping. I get that. Well, I guess I'll skip that one. This was for me pretty personal.
The dramatic scene inside in Idaho.
If you're new to this channel, or whatever we ever call it, channel, the way that I wound up being on TikTok is I owned an insurance business, and I had a couple of business partners. And one of my business partners got involved in a crazy legal battle, and we sold the business. And so then I didn't know what I was going to do next. I didn't want to keep doing insurance, so I wound up doing like the sports betting stuff. I did a little bit of like of real estate, and then I wound up doing this. This is kind of the journey. But this happened because my business partner got involved in a murder case. And so this is just a video explaining my business partner and how things went for him. Now, this was in 2023, but these cases wrapped up in 2024. So here's this.
We got so darn busy on the Lori Vallow trial with all the evidence that just kept vomiting out at us that we can be forgiven if we couldn't follow all the other side crimes going on, right? Like, you know that Lori is going to get extradited to Arizona to face the murder charges of her fourth husband, Charles Vallow. But guess what? In Maricopa County, a grand jury has decided today to indict her for conspiracy to murder Brendan Boudreaux. Okay, hold on. I know it's a new name for some of you.
That's my business partner.
Brendan Boudreaux was married to Lori's niece, Melanie, who from now on, like Gigi McKelvey, I will call Melanice because it's easier. Nice guy. They had 5 kids, married 11 years, and things went a bit south when Melanice started getting the thoughts about doomsday and Lori Vallow's, 1,100, 11,444,000, however many were going to be saved. And that's why Brandon and Melanice went, yeah. And when things got ugly, wouldn't you know it, he became one of those dark spirits and became an obstacle. And in October of 2019, when all the other killings were happening, somebody shot at him in his driveway. Wow. This was just a few months after Charles and a month after JJ and Tylee are last seen alive. Bullet went inches from his head and shattered the window of his vehicle. Sure looked a lot like Alex Cox. And he testified in Lori Vallow's trial about a mysterious Jeep. Have a listen.
As I came around the corner, I noticed there was a Jeep parked right in front of my driveway. My driveway would have been like this, and the Jeep was just parked right directly in front of it. I noticed that it was parked really closely, almost touching the van that had been parked there the previous several days. It had a Texas license plate, and the Jeep, it was a Jeep Wrangler, and Wranglers have a tire on the back of them, and there was no tire on this one. Instead, the window was kind of hanging.
This was in Arizona.
Open, but like the little tab things were like sitting on the outside of it.
Okay. So you see those things about the Jeep. What happens next?
As I drove forward, the window came up, and I saw a gun with what looked like a silencer. Heard a bang, and my driver's side window shattered. And so my natural reaction, instead of turning left into my driveway, I drove an electric car, so it was very instant, but I just pushed the gas and it just shot me forward. And then I remember as I was talking to the 911 person, I saw the Jeep come around the corner, and I don't know what I was thinking, but I started to try to follow it. And then the person told me that was a bad idea. So I thought it, I'm not 100% sure which, but I went back over and they instructed me to park in front of my house. So I parked in front of my house and then police arrived.
The prosecutors say that Lori.
So, like that's a morning that I'll never forget. This is my business partner, good friend of mine. I was pretty good friends with his wife also. When they first were married, I spent a lot of time actually playing just video games. He sucked at Madden, and she was really good at Madden, and so I'd always play her in Madden. But I remember this morning, and I remember the reason that this has been so impactful for me is I think that took place maybe in 2019. After that moment, everywhere Brandon went, he was always worried somebody was tailing him, and because a lot of times there were people that were tailing him, so there were multiple times where Brandon and I drove through Arizona trying to collect records for like his children, or just like school records, medical records, and we had to drive with a weapon, like a loaded weapon, in the car at all times. I was with him one night. We were having like a crawfish meal, like a crawfish boil, and he got a FaceTime from his dad. And Melanie, his ex, I don't know if they were officially divorced at that point, but she had broken into, his children were with his parents, and she had broken in through the garage and was trying to come through the door. And on FaceTime, his dad, like I just hear his dad, I didn't see the video, but I can hear his dad yelling, like, if you come through that door, I will shoot you. And then we had Brandon, a bunch of his friends. We just gave him credit cards in our names, ones that maybe she wouldn't suspect. And Brandon went on the run, and he was hiding all over the country. I didn't know where he was most of the time. He took his kids and he went on the run. And he was on a list. They had this list of like Lori and Chad of dark spirits. And the reason that I think this was impactful for a lot of reasons, like everybody has, not everybody, but people have bad things happen to them, and people close to us. But for me, it was really, really personal, because the beliefs coming out of Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell were beliefs that I grew up believing, and that they just intensified and turned it into their own version of the cult that we were in. All of these people that wound up, like Chad Daybell was a Mormon writer, beloved by his community. Lori, who I had met many times, is not a person that you would have ever feared or could think for even a second would harm their own children. Like she was a doting mother. She was very active in her children's lives. She was very active in the Mormon church. And so all of a sudden, like about 2 weeks before Brandon got shot at, we went to lunch, and he was just telling us the story, and we honest to God could not believe any of it. It was the most insane story. He went from happily married to his wife one day saying, "Hey, we're getting divorced unless you admit that you're gay." And he's like, "What? I'm not gay." And she's like, "Those are your only options. Either we get divorced or you admit that you're gay." And he's like, "Obviously, I'm not gay." And they wound up getting divorced just out of nowhere. And then we found out all this stuff going on. I'll continue the story in a sec. Let me read comments. Bree says, so you have the nerve to be scared of me? Come on now. I can be an excellent bodyguard for you, guarding you with all of my being and holes. Well, the good news is Lori is in jail, and so is Chad. Allie says, I heard you usually fall asleep after your balls drop. Thank you. Thank you for that. Jocelyn. Oh, thank you. Jocelyn says, super fun time last night. You are using motivational interviewing skills. Highly effective. You can take classes too. Thank you. I loved last night. Last night was a blast. Dan says, Happy New Year. Appreciate you and Jen so much. You both helped me grow, learn, and be better. Bree is just the sticky icing on the cake. Talk about ruining the moment. All right. I'll update the total here in a minute. As a reminder, there next or above me, there's the Venmo and Cash App. We do have a gift goal every day that we need to meet in order for Jen to not quit and leave me hanging. All right. So back to the story. I think the reason that this has hit home and like it brought back a bunch of emotions today is just that I see how quickly seemingly normal people can turn evil and have their views be used against them to have them do evil things. And I think that we see a little bit of that specifically in. I mean, politics are no different. Most people who vote tribally. The thing that Tex mentioned earlier today, I was like, it's in his blood. Like everybody in his family's always voted one way. Like that's most of America. Most of America just does that, and they don't believe that their side's the bad side. They always think somebody else is the bad side, and that was the case with Lori and Chad as well. Is basically what they were saying is, hey, we have this this message from God, and God says that we need to eliminate the evil, and we just need to trust God on this. Even if the people that we are targeting don't seem evil to us, or they claim that they're not evil, or we have no evidence that they're evil, doesn't matter. Like God said they were evil and that we needed to do away with them. That's what happened with Lori and Chad. That's the craziest. I mean, it was so unreal happening. And if you don't know the story, Lori and Chad, Lori was married. Chad Daybell was like not a motivational speaker. He was an author, and he would come to these, they call them firesides. I don't know if they do that in other religions, but they're not by a fire. It's basically just small gatherings where you get together and you have a speaker. And Chad would speak about like a lot of end of time stuff, but also he said that like he had passed the veil, like he had died before and he had passed the veil. So he knew about these, like his life in other lives that he had lived. And he came to, Lori was a big fan, and he started telling Lori that they were married in a previous life and that she was, I don't even remember who she was, some sort of Book of Mormon character, and he was a Book of Mormon character, and they had been married in previous lives. So they actually needed to be married again because they had this mission to fulfill together. Both of them married. Suddenly, Lori's husband is shot in their house. They claim self-defense. Her brother shot him. And then not long after, Chad's wife passed away in her sleep. And suspiciously, they did not have an autopsy, and they buried her very, very, very quickly. And within 2 weeks of Chad's wife being buried, he was remarried to Lori, and then all of a sudden they disappeared. During this time, for maybe 6 to 7 months before, maybe not, yeah, maybe, I don't know how many months, let's call it 4 to 5 months, nobody knew where Lori's 2 children were. She had an autistic son named JJ, who she had adopted, and she had a daughter named Tylee. There's also an older son, and he has a YouTube channel. His name is, I forget his name. Valo. He goes, oh, he doesn't go by Valo. Anyways, she has a son. You can find her son's name. He's still alive. All of a sudden, though, JJ and Tylee are missing, and she's telling people that they're just in hiding because they're not safe. She says there's like a custody battle, and for more than a year and a half, nobody knows where these kids are. Colby Ryan, thank you guys. Colby Ryan is her son's name, and he talks about this openly on his podcast. Eventually, through investigative work, they discover the bodies of both JJ and Tylee buried in Chad's yard. And they were buried by Lori's brother, who at this point has also weirdly passed away. And so watching this testimony and watching these court cases was one of the most bizarre things. And it frankly, it strained a lot of relationships I have with my LDS friends, because through all of this, nobody was in, and I don't know, I haven't talked to Brandon about this specifically. Brandon's pretty open-minded. He knows what my views are. Brandon and I have had really good discussions regarding his faith and my lack of faith. But the hard part for me was talking to my LDS friends about this and them not recognizing how easy it is to dupe somebody who believes in just by their gut or believes things through faith. You know, my friend's life was almost lost, and it was going to be lost for money. And they probably would have done away with his wife, I think, eventually. 2 children's lives were lost. 2 spouses' lives were lost. And there would have been more lives lost. And all the while, these folks felt like they were doing what God asked them to do. And their beliefs weren't far from like the mainstream of Mormon beliefs. And I think that that's like, for me, what made it such a difficult year is that people inside a religion, people inside a high control group, they think that what they're doing is their own choices. They think what they're doing is using their own free will. They think that the feelings of faith are truly feelings of faith. But when you can look back on it and you can see like the crime, when you can step away from the religion and you see the crime and you see the steps that led to them committing these heinous crimes, you realize, people who put their faith in leaders, just in a lead, like they give their whole faith and trust to a leader, will and can do horrific things. That's why Project 2025 was so scary to me. That's why I talked about Project 2025 a lot, because it does hit close to home. I recognize how quickly good Christians can turn into murderous groups. So that happened, and then this happened in 2024.
The dramatic scene inside an Idaho
and
courtroom where convicted.
I am not pro death penalty, for the record, but this was Chad Daybell's sentencing in 2024.
The dramatic scene inside an Idaho courtroom where convicted triple murderer Chad Daybell was sentenced to death. ABC's Alex Perche joins us now with more. Good morning to you, Alex.
Good morning, Janae. It was the details of this case that were especially heinous, which is why once Chad Daybell was found guilty on all 8 counts against him, the prosecution sought the death penalty, and the jury agreed.
The court is directed that the defendant would be sentenced to death on those counts.
Chad Daybell sat emotionless as a jury of his peers sealed his fate. And this morning, the so-called doomsday author sentenced to death after being convicted in the 2019 murders of his first wife, Tammy Daybell, and his second wife's 2 children, 16-year-old Tylee Ryan and 7-year-old Joshua J.J. Vallow.
This is the best justice we can possibly get. It brings closure for everybody that's been hurt.
The 2 children were last seen in September of 2019. Prosecutors say Daybell and his now wife, Lori Vallow, claimed their kids were zombies and conspired with Lori's brother, Alex Cox, to kill them. After nearly 10 months of searching and working the case, investigators found Tylee and JJ's bodies buried in shallow graves in Daybell's backyard in Idaho. Prosecutors say Tammy Daybell died at the hands of another due to asphyxiation. Lori Vallow, who by then was already in custody, was heard talking to Daybell on a jailhouse phone call during the search of his home.
Were they in the house?
No, they're out on the property.
Are they seizing stuff again?
They're searching.
The jury in this case listened to over 60 witnesses, but it took them just about 9 hours to recommend the death penalty. FBI investigator Doug Hart telling us their verdict didn't surprise him.
There are certain cases that just stick with you. This is going to be one of those for you.
Oh, absolutely, both personally and professionally. At the end of the day, there are victims who senselessly were killed, and that loss and that pain is very real for their loved ones and their families. It's very real for us.
Lori Vallow received a sentence of life without parole last year, and investigator
She was
Hart
found I don't know. She was found fit to stand trial, but I think her sentencing had something to do with her mental health, and her family has a history of mental health. Melanie's mother had passed away when she was young, so Lori was like kind of acted as a mother figure to her, but like only in her later life. Anyways, that's enough about that. Sorry. Thank you for allowing me to do that. I needed to say all that. Now to the stuff we really wanted to talk about, though. Again, to our research team, I don't want to miss anybody. It's Bev, Ash, Bree, Heath. I don't know if Hole did anything. Hole, did you do anything on this? I have no idea. And then obviously our mods. Did I miss some? I missed somebody again, right? And Britt. Yeah, thank you. They put these clips together, but these are the best moments from a couple of our favorite people in Congress. And we're going to start it out with Jay, didn't Melanie know or go along with Brandon getting shot at? Yeah. So Melanie was the only person who knew Brandon's address. I didn't know Brandon's address. Brandon had only moved there like within the week. He'd only been at that new house for like a week, and none of us even knew his address. She was the only one who knew his address. So yeah, I mean, I don't want to say anything because that court case hasn't happened yet, but I will be there when that court case happens, and I look forward to looking at Melanie while she refuses to make eye contact with any of us. But yeah, all right. First, our favorite, well, maybe not our. I don't know. You guys tell me. One of my
Answer to the
favorites,
issue of
AOC. This is
immigration.
AOC and Nancy Mace. They're talking about Nancy Mace does this thing where she loves to pretend like, one, she's a victim, and two, that she's woke on the right things, especially when it comes to representation for her black constituents. And you'll see her grandstand, and then AOC just absolutely tears her apart. And Mikey, thank you. Sorry, Mikey as well. Also Mikey on the research team.
I was accused by my colleague on the other side of the aisle about my white privilege. I want to say, number one, as the former ranking member of the Civil Rights Subcommittee under Chairman Raskin last session, I take great pride as a white female Republican to address the inadequacies in our country. I come from a district where rich and poor is literally black and white, black versus white on most days. I am very well aware of our rich history and try to recognize it as best as I can in the position that I have, and I resent the fact that you're going to throw that in my face up here. I'm one of the few people that you'll see on my side of the aisle trying to do the right thing to right people every single day. It was very...
I appreciated there that she recognized that she is, although she's doing nothing, she's like, I'm one of the very few even mentioning this. And like on the Republican side, even bringing up the fact that there's disparity between black folks and white folks in this country is not popular. So even like she's going out on a limb just to acknowledge it. Now she's not going to do anything to fix any of that, and AOC is going to shred her. But I thought that moment was really honest of like, hey, you guys throw me a bone here. At least I'm talking about it. Nobody else will even bring it up.
Beautiful speech by the gentlelady who, as she mentioned, was helped lead on the now majority side, the Civil Rights and Civil Liberties Subcommittee. But I think it's so exemplary of the point that she also oversaw the elimination of the Civil Rights Subcommittee on this committee, which really kind of gives the whole game away. We show up, we give speeches, we give flowery words, but at the end of the day, participate in the structural erosion of the rights and representation of people that are marginalized, women, people of color, people that just need to see their due process and civil liberties protected in this country. But I will move on. I have a quick question. Simple. Is it your testimony today that you personally witnessed President Joe Biden commit?
That was on to the next one. Incredible by AOC there, just pointing out like, hey, yeah, way to brag about a committee that doesn't exist anymore. Great. Yeah, the one that you guys all canceled, you were put on a committee just so you could get rid of it. Oh, good. Matt's back. Good. What's up, Matt? Hey, Matt, did you get your set done?
Hey, yeah, I just got done at the gym. How's it going?
Nice, man. Nice. What's up? What's on your mind?
So what happened on Bourbon Street?
There was looks like a terrorist attack.
Who do we know any identification of the male or female that did it?
Yeah, you must have been doing some reps then when I covered it. I'm trying. What is his name?
Yeah, sorry. I listen to bump a lot of Katy Perry when I'm pumping the iron. If you know what I mean.
Stupid. His name is Shamsu Din Jabbar. The flag on the back of his truck was an ISIS flag, so they're assuming terrorist attack.
Okay.
United States citizen. He's a resident of Houston.
Do we know? Okay, so I guess he owned the truck.
I don't know if it says I don't see anything that says he owned the truck or not. I mean, if he didn't,
your comments crack me up, man. These people just wake up pissed off. It's hilarious.
All right. Sorry.
No, nothing.
I mean, with all due respect, you showed up here and you were like, you went into hiding. You guys lost. Like, it's literally what you did today. You showed up to be a troll today. Your first visit.
No. I mean, you're just a grifter. That's all it is.
Oh, gotcha.
You don't believe in any of this stuff.
I sure don't. Anything else? Is that like, what do you mean? You're these people wake up mad. Now you're back to me being a grifter.
I mean, if you're going to come at me, I'll come right back at you. But it's not a one-hit wonder.
Well, yeah, I don't think I'm a grifter, but I don't care if you think I am. That's fine. Is a grifter just getting like paid for your work? Is that what a grifter is?
I guess I don't know. They
All right, so like
just
anybody
keep
who
coming
works
up with
as a
new
grifter.
definitions and new. You know how the young kids are nowadays. There's a new definition, a new pronoun. That's just how it is.
Cool. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about?
I guess not.
Yeah. Sorry, bud. Sorry, I should have been a little more triggered for you. I know that was the plan.
It's okay. No worries.
All
I
right.
know your skin's boiling. I know it's boiling.
It's not, brother. I don't care about any of this shit. I don't care if you think I'm a grifter. I really don't. This is my job, and this job comes with people who are going to dislike you, who are going to take time out of their day to come up and try and smear you. Yeah, it happens.
Yeah. It's
Shit
any
happens.
job.
Yeah. Like if I was a grifter, just politically speaking and monetarily speaking, I would be on your side of the aisle. It is far more lucrative to be a conservative grifter than it is to be a liberal one.
I don't think so because
okay, well,
I'm not even a
the,
conservative. I'm not a Democrat. I didn't even vote this year.
Well, who makes the most money? Who makes the most money?
How do you make the most money? You're not going to have 50, 60-year-old guys paying you on TikTok and PayPal and Cash App. It's going to be the young people that, just the young people that have no care, that spend their paychecks, that are living paycheck to paycheck. That's who's going to be paying.
Dude, my audience is pretty old. Just so we're like, if you look at my demographics, like my demographics skew older than myself.
I mean, I'm not going to debate you on that because I mean, sure, okay, if that's what you say, I'll take your word for it. But people, I think it's
look at the chat. 40, like look at the chat there. They're older than I am. But the group of people that come here every day are not people who get grifted to. Like these are people who follow politics regularly. These aren't like drive-by. Like people don't come here and watch the show if they just want drama, because we don't have a lot of that here.
Okay, well, it has nothing to do with you and your show. It's just the overly populated TikTok community, if you will. That what we're coming past is we see a lot of that. Maybe not your channel specifically or your, Monday through Friday show or what. I mean, I don't even know what you run here on TikTok, but maybe it's not you specifically, but overall as a whole, I do see a lot of the younger generations and younger populations spending a lot of money on this app.
Yeah. They do. Not on me.
Okay.
They don't spend it on me.
maybe not your audience, but I'm just saying in general as a whole, generalization.
Yeah, young people spend a lot of money. Like one of the biggest scams that I've ever seen is I forget what it's called. There's like that game that people can play on their phone or PC, and you can like buy skins. Do you know what game I'm talking about?
I think my younger cousin plays it where you can build stuff.
No, that's Minecraft. But either way, like these are literal casinos. It's all gambling. It's not Roblox or Fortnite. I can't remember what it's called, but
I think it is Fortnite.
It's not. It's a different game. I'm trying to remember what it's called. It's some sort of like war game. But yeah, this is what capitalism does. Capitalism is targeting people with disposable income and trying to get them hooked. But I think I'm the only person that does what I do on this app. Do you know anybody else that like just plays a 3.5 hour news show every day? Counter-Strike, thank you. It's called Counter-Strike.
I don't. On my screen time, I'm only on TikTok for about 25 minutes a day, so I don't know.
Yeah. I provide a service that is pretty niche. I'm probably never going to have a massive audience.
Well, I'll take your word for it. And
you could sit around and learn something.
It's nothing against your audience. Dude, there's just I just don't think there's anything to learn, man. I didn't vote this year.
You don't think there's anything to learn?
I don't think, well, just hear me out. I think both systems are broken. I think both parties are broken. I just don't think, you could pull up an article right now. And again, I don't want to steal your show. You can do whatever you want in your free time. You can pull up an article right now and you can look up something like coffee helps with A, and then coffee doesn't help with B, and A and B both being the same thing. And you'll get articles that say the exact same thing, but have opposing views. There's no authenticity anymore. It's all who's paying the person or the company or the newscast to write the letter, and what motive do they have behind it?
Well, it sounds like you should watch more of me, because I don't fit any of those descriptions.
I'm not saying you do, brother. I don't know why you're coming at this from a from a.
No, you're saying you can't learn anything because everybody is a certain way, but I'm not that way.
I mean,
so maybe you
what
could learn.
what channel are you watching for 3 hours a day? I mean, I don't know
I
anything
don't watch
about
any
you.
channels for 3 hours a day.
I thought you said you stream news channels for
No,
hours.
No. I stream for 3.5 hours a day. I cover the news 3.5 hours a day.
Okay, and what news channel or source or narratives are you covering?
Well, I don't have like a go-to news source. It's not that hard to find news that is like what you're talking about are opinion articles. And if I read an opinion article, I'm just going to go like if they cite a study, I'm going to go read the study. I don't necessarily care what the opinion is. I didn't get to my views because somebody guided me here. I was born and raised a conservative Republican. I held office as a Republican. I came by my views the same way that I think most people would if we weren't divided in a two-party system. I think you and I would likely agree on most things if we didn't have a two-party system. But I do think that if you put what most people in America want in a box and said, where does this line up? Most people in America are like left of center, and they all think they're center or like center right. But most people in America are left of center, like pretty far left of center. They just don't know it.
Okay, and then let me ask you this. Right now, politics, not politics, what is the biggest issue in America?
I personally think healthcare is our biggest problem.
Okay, and I think it's nutrition, food.
That's part of healthcare.
I know. Yeah, exactly.
See, so we would agree. So what should we do? Should the American government invest in making their people more healthy?
I think food and drug should be two separate entities, if you will, or two separate beings, if you will. Food and drug.
So you'd like a food administration and a drug administration?
Correct.
Fair
yes.
enough. Okay, but how do we fix food and how do we fix people's overall health? Let's say so. There's a lot of. I think we can both agree. There's a lot of people in this country who live very unhealthy lives, and most of them, honestly, like I recognize that it doesn't take a whole lot of effort to go online and figure out how to eat well. But most people aren't going to do that, or they don't have the money. It's kind of an investment. It's an investment in time. How could we use the federal government to promote healthier outcomes?
Well, I think it kind of starts at the top, right? I mean, who owns a majority of 95% of the stuff in our grocery stores? I mean, I think you and I can both agree on 50 to 60% of the food in grocery stores isn't real food. It's not one ingredient food. Why not?
Yeah.
Because the FDA does not make money if there are no sick people.
The FDA doesn't make money.
Okay,
who doesn't make money if there's no sick people? Who really doesn't make money if there's no sick people?
I guess the pharmaceutical industry.
Right. And then for those food companies you're talking about, like if we want to talk about,
I mean, I don't know how specific you want to.
Well, let's just assume that it's something we both agree on with unhealthy food, full of preservatives, no nutritional value. Those food companies, why are they putting out food that has no nutritional value? Money, right?
Well, yeah, money and addiction, right?
Yeah.
I think food is an addiction. Which
Which side of the aisle do you think currently, and I'm not trying to make this partisan, I'm just trying to make the point that I think most Americans are left of center. If you took the right and the left in this country, as far as elected leaders go, people who are actually in Congress, you are not going to find conservatives who are willing to break up these massive corporations or even do anything, because the corporations have lobbyists and they're going to say, if you stop letting us produce this food, people will lose jobs. And politicians don't want people to lose jobs. And so they're like, yeah, fuck it, we'll just keep going.
Okay, I mean, I don't disagree with you on that per se.
Like I look at the world this way. I think that you can move too far in a direction, and this isn't right or left. I believe this is the same with like economic ideologies. So if you go too far towards socialism, you might lose creativity. You might lose productivity. You might lose innovation. You can go too far, right? Where people aren't even incentivized to build new products. And in that case, you're gonna, like in a place like Russia, like if I wanted to fix the Russian economy, immediately I would break up the oligarchies, and I would say to Russian citizens, like, you guys should be free to start your own small businesses. So I would introduce more capitalism into Russia. But America's on the opposite end of that spectrum, almost to the point where they're meeting, where we essentially have an oligarchy here. We have a bunch of corporations and a bunch of billionaires who do make all the decisions, whether directly or indirectly. They make all the decisions, and the only power we have in our grasp is our elected leaders. They're the only ones that can do anything about these corporations, poisoning us. And so we need more protections for American people. That means universal health care. Everybody should have access to health care. Everybody should have access to healthy food. And if we have to spend money as a government to do that, fine. And if we're going to spend money as a government to do that, we should take that money from the people who have been profiting off of making us unhealthy. Why should we not take the money back that they made off of ruining our country?
I agree with that wholeheartedly. My only issue with that is I believe every dime that one makes, they should keep.
Why?
And because technically they worked for it.
Yeah, they worked for it. Sure.
So if you work for something, I believe it should technically be yours under law.
So this is like a taxation is theft. Nobody should be taxed.
To an extent.
Yeah, look, I understand that argument. The truth is we're never going to get anarchy. And I think libertarians sometimes, I think the reason I was a libertarian after I was a Republican because I kind of liked that idea. The problem with libertarians is they have an ideology that nobody's ever going to agree to. Nobody's going to agree to just blow it up and say, like, we're going back and we're just going to go back on the barter system. The reason we have currency is so that I don't have to trade you an orange for your pumpkin, right? I can just buy the pumpkin you're selling and give you $5. And that currency is backed by the United States government, and that's what gives it value. So the currency is meant to circulate. The currency is not meant to be hoarded. It's not meant to be kept. It's meant to circulate. And your work, your productivity should be reflected in the amount of money you make. And then we have collectively agreed, because we are a country, that there are certain things we pay for. We pay for education. We pay for roads. We pay for infrastructure. So that money's got to come from somewhere, which the only option is taxes there. Right.
Correct. Yeah.
So your system could work, but I don't think anybody's going to get there. So I'm left with saying, like, what's the best solution for the system that we actually have? And I think the best solution is to take all of the people who have profited off of American people and at the expense, let's say at the expense of American people. I think we should take a lot of the money back from them. And I think that going forward, the people that work in their companies should have, one, more of a say in how the company runs, and two, that they should share a little bit more in the profits.
Yeah.
And that's not that. That's the thing. Like, that's not radical. I think most people that you and I talk to would agree with that. But as soon as I say, let's say if I say this was a Kamala Harris policy, half the country tunes out. They're like, nope, I'm not doing it. It's Democrats? No. And same way, like, I think there's some ideas. I think we saw this in the election when Trump started talking about, like, no tax on tips. It was kind of like, for us, we're like, wait, we've been saying that. Now he's saying it. And a lot of us were turned off by it. Right. And I do think there were some problems with his ideas. But I think the real problem in this country is that almost all of us are center left, and somehow, like, a far right person won. That's great. Like, that's a problem. Like, we can't even elect the right people to give us what we want.
Yeah. I mean, again, I agree to an extent. I don't really have any further comments on, can Trump run a business better? Could Kamala run a business better? Because ultimately America is a business, right? I think you and I can both agree that
I disagree.
Okay,
It's
how is
more of like a nonprofit. Yeah, we don't sell anything. If it was a business, there would be revenue, and we would want to make profit. Ideally, the government operates it zeroed out. Ideally, that's how the government should operate.
So I guess if America is not a business, then why? Then how is accounting a thing? How are taxes a thing? How is it technically is a business. Every
Well,
country
it's more like
technically a business.
yeah. If you're saying that that's what you mean by a business, sure. But like a nonprofit, I wouldn't say is a business. Would you say a nonprofit is a business?
Does the nonprofits get any type of funds donated?
Yeah, they have accounting. They have They're usually they're tax
yeah.
exempt, but yeah, they have accounting.
Then I would. I mean, you're getting gifts on here. I technically you're kind of running a business here, right? And
Okay,
a
yeah. So
respectful one, right?
if we're going to count a nonprofit as a business, I would say Donald Trump had a nonprofit, and he's not allowed to run one anymore because he ran it as a scam. And so I would probably say he's the least likely person I would put in charge of a nonprofit.
And I agree with you.
Yeah.
Then yeah.
And yet, he's in charge, or he's going to be in charge.
Yeah, I mean, here's the deal. Like we're taking, you and I have talked 15, 20 issues in the span of a couple minutes here.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's a lot going on. There's a lot that people don't understand. There's a lot that I don't understand. I'll be the first to admit it, right?
Sure.
And to just be like, okay, within a couple months time span, here's two people, here's what they're for, here's what they're not for, pick. I mean, I think it's just a little bit more complicated than
picking
two people.
Yeah, I hate that too. I wish we had more options. I agree with you, but I think the part I'm trying to show is that, like, even though we only had two options, and I would love more than two options, most of Americans voted against what they believe. Like, they voted far right and they're center left. And I don't know how we fix that. Like, how did we get to a place where the guy, like, nobody, I don't think any of you, like, if one-on-one conversation, if I was like, hey, we should have concentration camps, none of you would say that. But you voted for a guy who was campaigning on it. Like, yeah, we're going to do concentration camps.
But okay, and that's great, and I agree with you. And maybe he said that, maybe he didn't. I don't know. I'm sure you.
Well, he called them internment camps, but yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. I mean, where do you draw the line? I mean, I don't know. It's confusing to the average person. It's overly complicated to the average person.
Yeah. And I think that's on purpose. I don't think it actually is overly complicated. I think that
maybe it's not. Maybe it's just how it's set up.
Yeah, they try and make it overly complicated. And what really hurts us, what really makes it more difficult for us to have honest conversation and to have the American people be more informed, is what really hurts us is when there's politicians like who lie about things who are obvious. I think that's the damage that Trump has done the most. When he lies about things that are obvious, his supporters have one of two options: call him a liar or buy into the lie. And a lot of people just said, like, you know what? Even though they knew it was a lie, they just bought into it. Like, nobody really believed that Haitian immigrants were eating pets. Nobody believed that. But did they repeat it? Yeah. Nobody really believed that crime. I mean, if you look at any statistic, crime is nowhere near an all-time high. It wasn't during the election, and yet Trump said it because it sounds good, and people go along with that. Because I think most people think politics is the same as like a football game. You pick your team and you root for them, and you don't care when your team gets away with holding. You don't care when your team gets away with roughing the passer. But God forbid somebody on their team get away with holding. We're up in arms.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's kind of what happened here. I think a lot of elections, it really is like it's easier to decipher. This one is confusing because this is the one where the guy who won almost nobody agrees with. It makes no sense to me.
But statistically possible that doesn't make sense, because if he won, then more would have to agree with him, correct?
No. I don't think you have to agree with somebody to vote for somebody. You can just vote for somebody. But I've yet to, since the election, I've outside of like a very few people on TikTok who were just like literally like if Trump kicked them in the face, they'd be like, "Thank you, I needed that." There's a few people like that who are just all in. But most people I've talked to, if we talk just issues, they never side with Trump on just issues. They went for Trump the person. They went for Trump the personality. They didn't vote for Trump on the issues for the most part.
Yeah, I would agree with that as well.
So we got to get away from that. We got to get away from this idea that like and Trump did make politics more fun. I think. I mean, I was involved in I worked for Mitt Romney's campaign. I can tell you that wasn't very fun. Mitt Romney didn't give us any one-liners that we could laugh at, and I get that, and especially because people are so fed up with our government, they kind of liked somebody standing in front of government officials saying like "fuck you," and I get that part, but. What does it say about our country that they voted for "fuck you" over like what was best for them? And that's where I'm concerned for our country is we will vote against our best interests as long as somebody hates the same person we hate.
And what in your opinion, what caused it to be like that? Is it the expansion of news and getting views and social media? I mean, what is causing that? Is it best to start educating more, like you had mentioned, and shut down the social media, which is a big part of the fake news? Like, how do you resolve that?
Well, so the first thing I would do, I would end Citizens United taking money out of politics. That's number one. Because money being in politics not only allows corporations to have politicians do their bidding, but it also attracts shady people to politics because they know, like we have Kyrsten Sinema here in Arizona. She was our senator. She did 2 terms and now she's one term, I think. And now she's going to cash out and she's going to go make a bunch of money working for private companies. And it appears that was her idea all along. She was elected as a very progressive Democrat, switched to independent, and then became like a Joe Manchin Democrat, just right in the middle and cozying up to big business. And now she's going to cash out. So you should not be able to work for somebody who lobbies the federal government or who gets government contracts after you leave office. We should get money out of contracts, and then we should do ranked choice voting, where on your ballot, like you would have had Jill Stein, you would have had RFK, you would have had Trump, and you vote for who you want in order. So if there's 7 candidates, you rank 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and you vote for them in order. And your votes are weighted. So a first place vote, let's say, is worth 7 points, and a second place vote is worth 6 points. Third place is worth 5, and so on. And you take the person with the most total. There's ways that we can fix this, but it's going to take the American electorate to stop fighting about names on the ballot and start talking about ideas. Because I think when we talk about ideas, we fix all of this stuff. If we talk about people, it just becomes chaos.
Yeah, I agree.
And then we have to have courage. That's the other part. Then people have to have courage to vote against people that their best friends and family would vote for. That's been a difficult thing for a lot of people, where they're on the fence, but their whole family loves one side of the aisle, and so they're like, well, if I vote this other way, I either have to lie to my family or I have to be quiet about it, and if I'm loud about it, I may burn some bridges.
Yeah. And as far as people in office and government officials, and you had just mentioned one, I believe, about being in the system and getting out shortly after and cashing out quite big. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on? I don't want to give an exact percentage because I don't have it off the top of my head, but a majority of these government per se officials being so lucrative in the stock market. And don't get me wrong, I've been investing since 2008. I did a little bit of Bitcoin back in 2015.
They shouldn't be allowed to invest. And there's bipartisan support. Did you know that there's a bill introduced to basically say that a member of Congress cannot invest or buy stocks?
I did not know that. No.
Let me tell you who sponsored that bill. It was co-sponsored. It was bipartisan. It was co-sponsored by AOC and Matt Gaetz. If that doesn't show you that most of America wants this to get done, I don't know what does. And they won't even bring it up for a vote.
Yeah.
So that's, I mean, we've got it, but we have to put pressure. And again, like, we're at least 4 years from that. The GOP is Trump's, and Trump is not going to do anything to hurt billionaires. He's going to keep money in politics because he's cashing. He's never made more money. This is the most wealthy he's really probably ever been. He's cleaning up on this politics thing. He's grifting like a mother. Yeah, talk about grifters.
No doubt about it. But how does the average person like you, me, your Subway, Chick-fil-A workers, school teachers, how do they ever get a voice in a system like this?
Well, you got to vote. You got to vote, and you got to vote in primaries. Like, how the fuck did Trump win the Republican primary? There were so many better options. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I don't know what I'm not an expert on what we have to do to get the right to change. My goal is to pick off people in the middle and say, I don't care who you vote for, but vote for what's in your best interest. Stop voting for people who are like Donald Trump is directly against the interest of virtually everybody who voted for him.
Yeah, I mean, that's your viewpoint, that's your opinion, that's your thought process, and I don't really have anything to kind of go against that or to
well, think about it. Come back. Let's talk again.
Okay.
All right, man. All right. Finish your set.
Yep, we'll do.
Bye. All right. I was reading the chat. I appreciate it, guys. I wrapped it up. Thanks. Let me check comments real quick, and then I'll get back to the stories. Ashley says, why don't quarterbacks tell jokes? They don't want them to go over the receiver's head. Solid. Where do you get these? Jennifer says, what condition does Trump take anxiety medicine for? Hispanic attacks. Jesus. All right. Cameron says, I'll forever be the first guest to put a joint on the board for rugged New Year's Eve with my JoJo Suez gay pop answer. I believe that gains me full bragging rights for the entirety of 2025. Fuck the 49ers, Bree forever. Yeah, you get bragging rights all year. I think that's fair, Cam. You were the first person to put a point on the board last night. Larissa says, tell Matthew to put a shirt on for me. Sorry, Matthew. There it is. Larissa, I should have gotten that message to him sooner. Matthew, put on a shirt. Your nips are showing. Marina says, Happy New Year. Thank you, Marina. Shannon says, for the grift. Thank you. I love that. I'm just out of here grifting away. I will say, like, if you just let some conservatives talk for just a minute, eventually they settle down. You can have a conversation. Hey, Jen, I'll do math while you talk.
Awesome.
Your voice is getting worse.
It's just I haven't been talking. Like, when I do talk, it gets better, but I haven't been talking. So
well, now's your chance.
Here I go. Just loosen up all this stuff. So just want to remind everybody we've got subscriptions here. We've got, if you guys want to drop some of the different emotes we have to show people what they can get if they subscribe to us here over on TikTok. Please subscribe to us over on YouTube as well. It looks like you've missed some Venmos or Cash Apps. Did you check them all?
Who did I miss?
Looks like Tiff said you missed them.
I did? I thought I read Tiffany's last time. Oh, nope. Sorry. Tiffany said, hi, Matt, mid-30s, six-figure, fully employed household, listening to the political points while supporting Jay and company instead of a news subscription. Thank you, Tiffany. Why did I think I had read yours already? I'll check.
And then I don't know what Empowered's actual name is.
I did miss some. Sorry. I used to be addicted. Ashley says I used to be addicted to the hokey pokey, but don't worry. I turned myself around. Kristen, did I get this one? Happy New Year. Thanks for bringing people together online. Tell Cam, go Browns, fuck the 49ers. Just kidding. I don't actually care about football. I think you meant fuck Rams for Cam, not Browns. Toby says the only exposure therapy I want is where I'm sitting in the bed and you show me your silly sausage. Good throwback to the silly sausage. Well done. I think I got them all now.
Think you sure you didn't miss?
Well, the last one, I went down the line, and then there was one from Bree, which I already read. So yeah, I think I got all of them.
Okay, cool. So you too can be a W and send a message that Jay can read or TP read. So if you want to send a joke, you want to send something that'll make him blush. I don't know if we've had too many of those today. So, I mean, we could.
It's fine. It's fine.
I mean, those are fun.
Yeah, it's been great.
Yeah. If you'd like an invite to the Discord, you can, mods, if you want to raise your hand, message any mod, we can get you an invite. And yeah, let's knock out this gift goal. You did the math though.
Yeah.
So we've got an hour and a half roughly to blow out $132. So if we could do that. So you know what, I think I've decided I'm going to open up a restaurant.
Oh, good.
I'm going to call it Karma.
Okay.
There's not going to be any menu, and I'm just going to give them what they deserve.
Oh, that's lovely. Jen's going to serve everybody shit, though. That's what you deserve. I did see this. Well, I don't know what this comment even means. Don't call yourself a liberal unless you're pro-capitalism. It doesn't make sense. I don't understand that. I don't understand what you mean. If you that was from Jen's screenshot. That's people over politics. You can explain that if you'd like. I don't know. I don't know what that means. Sorry. Bree's going straight demon mode now. Terrific. Terrific. Oh, there you are. People over profits right there. Hey. Welcome.
Hey, how are you? I'm sorry, I'm very sick.
That's all right. I hope you get feeling better soon.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Liberalism is that you believe in capitalism and individualism. So even Republicans are technically liberal here, which I do love to call them liberal because they hate it so much. But if you don't believe in capitalism, then I wouldn't call yourself a liberal because you're really not. You're an anti-capitalist. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I've never heard
cloudy.
that. Yeah, I've just never heard that to be a liberal you must believe in capitalism. Where's that come from?
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's what liberalism is. If you look up liberalism or read anything about it, so the Democrats are obviously pro-capitalist. The DNC is a billion-dollar corporation, right, that chooses our politicians.
Are you saying it
so
because
if you are,
liberals believe in private property? Is that why?
sure, yeah,
Okay.
well, yes, of course they do, and profit, right?
I don't
The
know.
DNC literally is a billion-dollar corporation.
Yeah, no, I think that most Democrats are capitalists. I'm not necessarily disagreeing with you. I've just never heard that in order to be a liberal you have to believe in capitalism.
Well, yeah, that's the definition. Do you know any Democrats that are anti-capitalist? I don't know any
Yeah.
personally. Any politicians, I mean, not.
Oh, I mean, and if you want to call Bernie Sanders, I guess he's an independent now.
But I think, and I think he's a democratic socialist, right? Is
Yeah.
he even yeah, so that's still capitalism as well.
How is a democratic socialist a capitalist?
Yeah, because it's still under capitalism. They still believe in the private means of production. It's just a more humane capitalism. It's like trying to care for people a little bit more
But
as opposed to.
Couldn't a democratic socialist just be a socialist who believes in democracy?
Well, socialism is much more democratic than capitalism could ever be.
Right, but that's
because it's giving the workers the means of production, and we have then, as workers, we have control and power. So it's much more of a democracy. And I don't think that democratic socialism is necessarily more of a democracy than regular old capitalism, but I don't know that for sure, honestly. To me, capitalism is capitalism.
Democratic is just like saying like how you come up with the form of government, and then socialism is the economic theory.
Sure,
I don't know.
I just think that's sort of how America has taught us, versus like the reality, because we've been taught that communism is like full government control, when in reality, the goal of communism is to be stateless. So there's really no government control in a stateless society, So like a lot of the things that we've been taught, I've only been a communist for about 2 years now, because I'm 42, most of my life, I just thought, I believed everything America taught me. So I didn't know better. But now I've done a lot of decolonizing and educating myself outside of the system. And I just think that to call ourselves liberals, that does mean that we are pro-capitalism. And you don't have to think that. But
Yeah, I think that maybe if you are a liberal and you support the Democratic Party, yeah, I guess you would probably say that you are, at the very least, you're engaging in capitalism. But it seems like you could be a liberal in a socialist country. Let's say you had a country that was actually living socialism. You could be a liberal,
Well, what would
right?
liberal mean in that sense?
Like maybe socially you're more liberal. I mean, liberal just basically means like a wide berth, right? Like you have a wide range of acceptance of other ideologies, other identities, other thoughts. To me, liberalism is
Okay.
just like bigger tent.
I would say that's more progressive and progressivism. I wouldn't
Okay.
really call that liberalism.
Yeah, that could be right.
But definitely do more research, and I'll keep hanging around. I was gifted a sub today. I didn't know that you existed, and I'm happy to be here. So thank you very much.
Nice to meet you. I appreciate you clarifying that.
Yes.
All right. Have a good one.
Thank you. You guys have a great day.
You too. Bye. Yeah, I don't know. I have no idea. I'll look more into it. I've never heard that. That's the first time anybody's ever said that to me. So I have no idea. I'll take her at her word for it for now. Let's get back to AOC. This was maybe my favorite AOC moment of the year.
Do you know what we're here for?
AOC is very careful about her speech and her tone, and she's usually really cognizant of her surroundings, and which sometimes you'll see her in a more comfortable surrounding and she'll loosen up a little bit. Usually on the floor of the House, she's very buttoned up. She's very articulate and careful with her language. It was fun to see this because like AOC very rarely loses her cool, and this was one of my favorite moments. The video on this is kind of shitty. Just heads up, because they had to zoom way in to get it. But this is AOC, one of the very few times losing her cool on the the floor of the House.
Oh, we're here about AG. I don't think you know what you're here for. Well, you the one talking about. I guess I think your fake eyelashes are messing up. No, ain't nothing.
Hold on.
Listen.
Order.
Mr. Chairman,
That's beneath
would
even
you please
order.
regain order of your committee?
Order.
Mister, I do have a point of order, and I would like to move to take down Ms. Green's words. That is absolutely unacceptable. How dare you attack the physical appearance of another person? Are your feelings hurt? Her words down. Aw. Oh, girl, baby girl. Oh, really? Don't even play. Baby girl? I don't think we are going to move, and we're going to take your words down.
I second that motion.
So who will have to?
I just
we're taking her.
I don't want to make AOC mad, but I do want her to yell at me just one time. Just like one time, I want AOC to yell at me. It's getting all wild because there's a code of conduct on the House floor there, and Marjorie Taylor Greene is just a horrific piece of shit human being. And when she gets cornered on something, she just attacked somebody's physical appearance. And you're not supposed to do that on the floor of the House. You're not supposed to go after people's physical appearance. And by the way, if you watch any of these House hearings, if the stuff that Republicans have been outraged about, like somebody saying happy holidays and they lose their fucking shit because they're like, you should say Merry Christmas. Like that's actually happened on the House floor. So there is decorum, but for Republicans to get upset about that, and no Republicans backed Marjorie Taylor Greene that day. She was forced to apologize, and the words were stricken from the record. So even her Republican colleagues were like, yeah, let's not do that. Here's AOC defending Secretary of the Interior Deb Haaland. Deb Haaland was like every other Joe Biden appointee, was just attacked over and over and over again. She's the very first Native Indigenous secretary ever in Congress. And it's a difficult job. Like if you are Secretary of the Interior and your job is to work with all the indigenous tribes, they all have a little bit different ways of life. They have different politics. They have different ways of operating where they're at. It's a really difficult job to navigate. And Republicans were just basically pointing out, your job's hard, so you suck at it. They were pointing out the stuff that's really difficult for her, stuff that she could definitely use help from Congress for. And so this is AOC just stepping in to say, like, let's be real about what Deb Haaland has to deal with.
Secretary Haaland, I'm going to say it because I think it's important too. You are the first Native cabinet secretary in the history of the United States. Is that correct?
Yes, Congresswoman.
Let alone the first Indigenous woman to ever serve as a cabinet secretary in the history of the United States from either party. Is that correct?
Yes, yes, Congresswoman.
I find the notion or the suggestion, and it's not just because of your identity, it is because of your record. Your record. The insinuation that you do not care for, or the insinuation that you are not extraordinarily attentive to tribal issues, to be deeply offensive. It is deeply, deeply offensive. And you are not in a position to speak up for yourself because you are an eminent professional, and I'm going to say it. I'm going to say it because this woman has served on this dais too, and I had a front row seat to how she advocated for Native communities here in the United States Congress too. And the insinuation that that is somehow not central to her mission here is just completely unsubstantiated. And that's a line that we should not cross. It's just not. Tribal consultation is very important, and it is fraught. Different tribes have different standards for consultation. Is that correct, Secretary Holland?
Yes, Congresswoman. No tribes. No tribe is a monolith. Tribes are not. They're in different areas of the country. They're all going to have different experiences and advocate for different things.
And so it is extraordinarily challenging when we have such a great diversity of our tribal communities in this country to meet all these different standards of consultation. But the Department of Interior has taken historic measures to meet everyone where they are at. Is that correct? Is that a fair assessment to make?
Congresswoman, when we first got into office, I'll just point out that we had a consultation on tribal consultations. We got tribes together to ask them, what's the best way for us to meet you where you are? And so we take that information and it helps us, guide us through how we do consultations for various issues. Through the various bureaus and offices, but also in general for Indian country.
I think one of the things, as all the guests we've had, like the comment of what do we do about this? How do we fix this? It starts with one, and I know this is going to sound crazy coming from us. I know Republicans are going to think this is crazy, so hear me out on this. Stop with identity politics. Knock it off. Right? There is nothing wrong with having an identity. There is nothing wrong with celebrating your identity. But what the Republicans have done for the last 4 years is taken anybody whose identity is not a white man and called it DEI. And so in all of these hearings that we've had for the last 4 years, because they know if they can get a DEI clip and they can send it out to their constituents, that means they can fundraise. They'll make more money. The America First PAC will bring them in. They'll start being invited to Mar-a-Lago. When you look at the people who went from like serious legislators to people who were attacking DEI every day, Ted Cruz is maybe one of them, you realize very quickly what happened. And you look back on these last 4 years, and Republican, Democrat, or otherwise, you can look at this Congress, the least effective Congress of all time, and you can look at every time they question somebody. If that person in front of them was not a white man, they talked about how they were a DEI hire. And if they happened to be a white man, then they talked about how they supported DEI. That's what we did for the last 4 years. We did, let's not talk about anything. Let's not get anything done. Let's focus on DEI and identity politics. That's all we've done. You go look at any video that was a hit over and over and over again on the right. The biggest videos that we saw on the right that worked were things that attacked DEI and identity politics. I'm going to give you an example. This was sent to me by one of our viewers here and also one of our members of the Discord. Let me scroll up. I asked the Discord this morning, I just said we're going to be doing an end of the year review show today. If you have something that you think we should cover, some sort of a video that needs to be covered for end of the year, let me know. And this came from one of our, like I said, from one of our Discord users, Mitria. Asked if I could share this story. She sent this, and she sent me this ad, and this was impactful to her.
This is the Jim Heath Channel playlist of 2024 campaign ads.
Kamala supports taxpayer-funded sex changes for prisoners.
Surgery.
For prisoners.
For prisoners. Every transgender inmate in the prison system would have access.
It's hard to believe, but it's true. Even the liberal media was shocked Kamala supports taxpayer-funded sex changes for prisoners and illegal aliens.
Every transgender inmate would have access.
Kamala's for they, them. President Trump is for you.
I'm Donald J. Trump, and I approve this message.
Be sure to subscribe to the Jim Heath Channel.
Now, I think for me, I asked the wrong question when I saw that. Like, when I saw that, my first thought was, okay, Trump is a bigot. I think the question I should have asked, and that maybe all of us should ask, is why was that so effective? Because whatever you want to say about that ad, it was incredibly effective. When you go back and you look at the data on what polled well, on what ads were like reshared, well, this is one that was reshared over and over and over again. And this is the message that Mitria sent. And again, I've got her permission to read this, but it was impactful to me. Mitria said, as a transgender woman, this was the absolute worst moment for me of 2024. Trump and MAGA didn't care if fellow humans and Americans were demonized or if they would be targeted. They only cared about their team scoring a point. I instantly felt the world get colder and more dangerous as these ads surfaced. My very existence has been used as a pawn in a political game by the American version of Schmittler, and his side ate it up just to regurgitate it everywhere they could, like good little sheep. As an empathetic person, I had to have a moment with myself. I had to stop and ask myself, if your life is in danger, can you, as a mostly defenseless, disabled person, use your few abilities to not only protect yourself, but empower others to do the same, even at the expense of the attacker's life? I made my decision. Straight cis men have had zero to no rights threatened this election. Women are having their rights manipulated and played with in such a way that some just don't even realize it went from one law of autonomy to 50 different laws. Trans women were targeted directly by $250 million of hate ads by a hate cult. I hope you understand that while we weren't the only victim, we were top of their hunting lists. That is why ads like this were number one, the worst part of me for 2024. Just like on a human level, to try and put yourself in those shoes and understand, like, can just imagine turning on your TV or turning on your holding up your phone and you're seeing an ad and it's coming after your existence. I mean, I'm going to be critical of the left on and some friends on this app. Not only was it used as a weapon by the right, it was used as a way to get clicks by the left. And the dehumanization of trans people, when the discussion really should be exactly like Tim Walz said, like, mind your own fucking business. Let people do what they want. Let people identify how they want. Nobody's being hurt. Our country as a whole, not just the Republicans, our country as a whole let down the population. They let down the voters. They let down the citizens because we have allowed certain groups to be targeted by the government for their identity, not for any actions that group has taken, not for any damage that group has done to America, but simply for their identity. And I think that just historically speaking, putting that in perspective, there has never been a time, never in all of history, where an identity was targeted by a political party where it didn't end in disaster. And it did. It continues to end in disaster. Trans people continue to be targeted and attacked. Many trans people don't feel comfortable leaving their home. And imagine that. Imagine you wake up every day and you decide, can I live my life authentically outside, or I can live my life authentically inside, or I can be closeted again so that I can live outside. And that's a real decision that human beings have to make in 2024. That's embarrassing. It's honestly, I don't care what you think. None of us who are not trans understand the complex issue of being born a certain way and feeling a different way and not having those two things match up. I'll never comprehend that. But what I can comprehend is that I don't think that the government should target me or people that look like me just for existing. And frankly, if somebody looks like me and they commit a crime, the government still should not target me. The government should not be targeting any group of people that aren't out committing violence or that aren't out hurting the American people. And these trans folks are not hurting the American population. They're not hurting anybody. And yet, again, it was a winning message. In America, it was a winning message that we need to get rid of immigrants, and that we need to either tell trans people to go back in the closet or stay at home. That was the messaging. In 2024, we went backwards. Whatever you want to say about why you voted for the Republicans, we went backwards. And this is all made possible from Citizens United, from money in politics. Because what has happened is when people say I'm never represented, we're all fucked. Yeah, we are. Because we have a system now that incentivizes people to come to Washington to get rich, specifically to get rich. And now in the GOP, you don't even have to fake being a good person. All you have to do in the GOP is say the right things and never apologize. No matter what you've done in the GOP, it doesn't matter. As long as you pledge your loyalty to Donald Trump, claim that you're a victim of a weaponized justice system, and never apologize for anything that you've done, the Republicans are like, yeah, cool. We're in on that. You're good. As long as you never admit that you did something wrong, we're good on that. And I just want to thank Mitria for bringing that to my attention in a way that I had never thought about, and also for being vulnerable and sharing that. And we just have to be better. We have to be better about not taking groups of people, marginalizing them, making them targets. And I think some of that comes from some of the stuff we've done, especially on this app on the left, of making trans people targets. I think it's a failure for the entire country. I don't think that's. I certainly think that most of that came from the right, but on our side, I think we've got some work to do too. People are people. Can we just let people be people? We'll let Matt keep his shirt off if Republicans stop going after people for their identity. How about that? We'll make a trade. We'll do that. Text one a day. I'll guess only once a day. I see what you said. I'll mess. I see you said you sent me something about that Cybertruck on Instagram. Let me look real quick. What do we know about it? It's from DC Drano. I don't like that, but we'll see. Oh my God. Holy shit. I'll find it on Twitter. All right, you guys need to see this actually. That was a good share by text. Holy shit. This was not a Cybertruck that caught on fire. Let's see. Where's that video? All right, here it is. All right. All right, play it. I didn't realize you could get that close to the opening. First of all, I thought they had pulled it up there. So that's just like the valet then.
Copy.
That is insane. It's like fireworks, it looks like. Do they fill the truck with fireworks?
Copy.
That's crazy. What a fucking world we're in right now. This is a weird time to be alive. It's a very the last guest, Matt asked when did this change? It's been happening, but I will say that Donald Trump is comfortable when in chaos, and so Donald Trump creates chaos so that he's comfortable. To say that the divisiveness that we're feeling now isn't mostly attributable to Donald Trump, I think would be a lie. I think it's mostly attributable to Donald Trump. Nobody else, like when they say like, oh, he was attacked like nobody before. Yeah, I think that's like part of the argument, is that forever we've wanted ways to go after our political opponents forever. Like it's been like this, and Donald Trump just happened to be one that you could go after. And I think that's been a really interesting part of Republicans, is like them ignoring all the facts of these cases and the corruption of Donald Trump, and just saying, oh, well, it's all politically motivated. Maybe it was politically motivated, but it was also true. It's clearly somebody now targeting Trump Tower, which I think, isn't that where Melania is? I think so. This was a moment that, again, this is another moment where I think AOC speaks for 90% of the American people, and yet most people didn't see this, and most people never will talk about that. This is AOC introducing articles of impeachment against Supreme Court justices.
Speaker.
Oh, this.
I rise today to.
Oh, Jen just covered that for me. Okay, so this was Trump Hotel in Vegas, not Trump Tower, so not New York. Thank you, Jen.
Introduce articles of impeachment against Associate Justices of the Supreme Court Clarence Thomas and Samuel Anthony Alito, Jr. Against Justice Thomas, the resolution includes 3 total articles: 1 count of failure to disclose financial income, gifts, reimbursements, property interest liabilities, and transactions, among other information, and 2 counts of refusal to recuse from matters concerning his spouse's legal and financial interests before the court. The second resolution includes the following impeachment articles against Justice Alito: 1 count of refusal to recuse from cases in which he had a personal bias or prejudice concerning a party before the court, and 1 count of failure to disclose financial incomes, gifts, reimbursements, property interests, among other information. Mr. Speaker, nomination and appointment to the Supreme Court is one of the highest privileges and most consequential responsibilities of our nation. Such an appointment is uniquely insulated in its power. Confirmation to the court is a lifetime appointment whereby justices are entrusted with decisions that powerfully shape the nation as well as the lives of every American. For this reason and others, the Constitution rightfully and explicitly holds justices to even higher standards than members of Congress or even the President. Section 1 of Article 3 of the Constitution commands federal justices to hold their offices during good behavior, in addition to its clauses barring treason, bribery, and other high crimes and misdemeanors. And Congress has exercised its power to reinforce this higher standard of the judiciary before. This body has impeached and removed 8 federal judges for transgressions ranging from evading income tax and perjury to intoxication on the bench and abandoning the office to join the Confederacy. Perhaps most critical to the legitimacy of the institution, these judicial standards require justices to recuse themselves in any proceeding where their impartiality might reasonably be questioned. In other words, if a person could reasonably believe that the legitimacy of a justice's judgment could be or be perceived to be compromised due to their personal involvement in the case or its parties, the standard is clear. The justice must recuse. They are required to recuse. That stringent and sacred standard exists for the good of the ruling, the judiciary, and the country.
One thing I was proud of with Joe Biden is during the investigations into his family and his son, he refused to step in. And I know there's criticism and fair criticism that he then issued his son a full pardon. But a lot of people talk about like their love for the Constitution, especially on the right. Now, I will say I don't particularly love the Constitution. I don't share the same the same thought process that this was some sort of divinely inspired document that is perfect and that we must adhere to the guiding principles of our founding fathers. I think it was pretty good for its time. And I think it's pretty good compared to a lot of other constitutions. But if we can't even acknowledge our own laws, if we're not willing to acknowledge our own laws and hold the Supreme Court responsible and hold them accountable for the laws that they are breaking, like, we don't have a country anymore. With the Constitution, you might as well wipe your ass with it. I hope there really is a treasure map on the back of it. But the Supreme Court has been allowed to become a rogue, virtually independent body who has ruled on their for cases for themselves. There has been no investigation into the amount of money that these Supreme Court justices, specifically right-leaning Supreme Court justices, have taken. They hear case after case after case where they have either a personal or a financial interest in the case, and they refuse to recuse themselves. All while the same people who are ignoring the fact that these conservative Supreme Court justices are entirely corrupt and they rule on cases with an interest, the same people that support them are out there saying that the system is weaponized against Donald Trump. Can somebody please explain that to me? Like, our Supreme Court is fucked. And our Supreme Court is going to get Alito's retiring. He'll be replaced. And if we have anybody else step aside, they'll also be replaced. We have 4 years where Donald Trump potentially could put in more people who swear their loyalty to the team, and not like Team America, Team Republican. These are bought and paid for Supreme Court justices. It wasn't that long ago that the American people trusted the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court then ruled, yeah, it's okay if we take bribes. Yeah, it's okay if the politicians take bribes. Yeah, it's okay if it's all right if we have dark money in politics. Yeah, it's okay if we don't recuse ourselves. Oh, and by the way, if anybody wants to investigate us, we'll do it ourselves. Don't worry about that. We'll investigate ourselves. Don't you guys worry about oversight at all. The three branches of government, the whole checks and balances thing, fuck that. We're gonna investigate ourselves, and we're just gonna throw bone after bone after bone to the far right. Again, nobody in this country, virtually nobody, wanted Roe v. Wade overturned. It was most people, I think it's like 70 or 80% of the people in this country did not want Roe v. Wade overturned, and yet our Supreme Court did it, and they did it by ignoring decades of precedent. They ruled against every other judge that came before them, and they ruled against the American people, and they did it because the people who have been giving them money asked them to. That's the story. That's the only story. They ruled against you. They ruled against a precedent, and they did it because people are paying them. And it wasn't even a story. Most Americans have no idea. It wasn't even a story. It was perhaps the most corrupt thing not even perhaps. I think it is the most corrupt thing that has happened in the last 4 years by miles. It's so much worse than any of the crimes Donald Trump committed. It's 1,000,000 times worse than Donald Trump committing financial crimes. This is the most corrupt thing that has happened in our lifetime, and nobody's talking about it. This should have been a unanimous impeachment. But why is it not? Because the Republicans know that the same people writing checks to those Supreme Court justices are the ones writing checks to them. The oligarchy is here. And we have a little bit left. Like, we have a little bit left of our Constitution. We have enough of our rights still intact that there's something we can do about it. But legitimately, and this is what sucks, legitimately, Republicans, you can't vote for any of these Republicans anymore, or it's over. We now have the executive branch of government bought and paid for by the oligarchs. Congress is mostly bought and paid for, and the Supreme Court is bought and paid for. Our 2.5 of our branches of government are owned by the oligarchs. And we still have some of you motherfuckers, I swear to God, some of you motherfuckers still in the comment sections, still hosting lives like, well, but the billionaires are the job creators. They're not. They're the oppressor. I don't know. I don't know how to explain this any differently. I don't like being alarmist. I don't like saying like, here's the end, but Jesus fucking Christ. We don't have a government, guys. We don't have a government, and we can see it in front of us, and somehow a majority of the people that voted can see that we don't have a government, and they're like, you know what we ought to do? Let's put in more of the people who sold the government. They just sold it. Tell me, I mean, there's a handful, I believe, of Republicans that aren't completely bought off. A handful. I think there's more Democrats that aren't bought off, but there's plenty of Democrats who have been bought and paid for as well. So it's not unique to the Republican Party. But I will say that the people, when our folks get bought off, we run them out. We don't want, like Eric Adams, ran him out. Bob Menendez, run out. We do not like when people are obviously bought and paid for. And Republicans embraced it because they like Trump, because they like power, because they feel like this is their opportunity. You got an entire party that was hijacked by a rich guy who needed to be president to save himself. You know who Donald Trump is if he doesn't win? He always is like, I could have retired and went golfing. No, you couldn't. You were broke. You were broke, dude. You didn't have any money. All your businesses were falling apart. Donald Trump was saved by the presidency, and now he's selling it out to other billionaires. AOC is the right person. I don't even understand the hatred for AOC. This is a person who is highly educated, who couldn't get a good paying job, who won her election by taking no money from corporations, 0 corporate donors, was funded entirely by her base, and she is called a radical. She is feared by the right. What does it tell you when the people that are most feared in this country by the conservatives are the people who aren't bought and paid for, are not bought and paid for? Who does the right love? They love Donald Trump, bought and paid for. Who do they love? They love J.D. Vance, bought and paid for. Who do they love? Jim Jordan, bought and paid for. James Comer, bought and paid for. Matt Gaetz, bought and paid for. Rick Scott, bought and paid for. The only people that Republicans consistently hate are the politicians who don't take corporate money. And then the Republicans show up and they're like, well, the whole system's fucked. Everybody's taking corporate money. No, not everybody. Not everybody. Just virtually everybody on your side. It was definitely. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I do have a cut. I cut my finger. I was chopping firewood and I got a splinter in my finger. I keep forgetting it's on there. And I moved my camera down today. I switched out the camera. So sorry. But look, Republicans, if you're here, we won't hate on you forever. But can you just like start advocating for good things? We can survive 2 years of Trump. 2 years of Trump, we're good. We can get through that. 4 years of Trump, I don't know if we can undo all of that. We just need your support to take away the power from Donald Trump so that he can't unilaterally run our country. Easy there, lumberjack. I don't chop firewood very often. What actually happened is the landscapers left a bunch of wood, and I was going to go camping, and so I just went and I chopped some of it. Actually, the fact that I have a cut on my finger shows how bad I am at chopping wood. Just knock it off. Knock it off. Let me read comments because I think it's got done. We did complete our gift goal. I appreciate it, Jenny. That was very generous. Thank you. Jenny said, "Well said, Jay. This is exactly what I try to explain on the trans issues when I argue with my mom." Hey, Jen.
Okay. Really weird way to say we're whacking it.
That's what you came up here for. Bree says, "Hey, can you say? Did I say niche or niche again? I feel like you're saying it wrong and it's driving me crazy." This is Jiz Lane all over again. Still waiting to go down that path with you, by the way. I think it's Nietzsche. Is it niche?
I think it's niche.
Yeah, I think I learned it niche. I think we all said niche, and then I've learned As I got older, it was niche, and I think I just pick back and forth. But it is
You don't
Jizz
say words
Lane.
right in general.
I'm from Utah. The fact that I get most words right is pretty good for somebody from Utah. If you knew where I was from.
Say mountain.
No. Do you want me to
Come
say
on,
it the
say
Utah
mountain.
way or the way, like the real way?
Say it.
Well, I'm mountain.
Say it again.
Mountain.
If you guys don't know, people in Utah don't say their T's.
Hunting. We also don't use G. Hunting, fishing, mountain.
Pillow.
There's a lie that we don't say creek, and that we call, fork. There's a lie about Utah that we say fark instead of fork. There's a city or town, American Fork and Spanish Fork. And a bunch of people say, I don't know why they say it. I think some people, like some of the rednecks, say fark, like Spanish fark, but we don't do that. Thank you, Dano.
Fork was not one that I was aware of, but go ahead, keep reading.
Bree asked, she had asked me to hold up my finger before. She said, was that from you finger banging me so damn hard, or is that just a rug burn?
Bree's upset because you gave her splinters.
That's what I give people, splinters. Swish says, Happy New Year, Double Daddy. Thank you. Happy New Year to you as well. And Jody says, finally able to give a little. I appreciate you. Thanks, Jody. I appreciate that. I hope none of you ever feel like you need to give. We'll make it through. And then I think I covered it. I think I said Marina, but thank you, Marina, for the Happy New Year. All right, Jen, what did you have?
I did. I came the splinter thing popped in my head. I did have to come say that. That was fun.
Oh.
But yeah, no, reminding the subscribing here and YouTube. What's blue and not very heavy? Oh wait, you have more messages to read too.
I do?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't read all of Swish's. Happy New Year, Double Daddy. Love Sister Wife 69. Okay, I didn't see that part. Thank you. That's Sister Wife 69. Carrie, I don't see Carrie on here. Oh, here it is. Andrea. It was Carrie, apparently. Matt put a fucking shirt on. This isn't Tinder. Okay, so is Melanie facing charges? Melanie Boudreaux? I don't know. I didn't know that Lori was facing charges. I'm going to call Brandon today. I'll get an update on what's going on with Melanie. I haven't talked to Brandon for a while, so I want to. And can I do a whole show on this after whatever court case you're talking about? Yeah, I've talked to Brandon about doing a podcast when it's all said and done. He hasn't wanted to because he's been involved in all these cases. But yeah, I'll definitely do. I'll bring in some other friends who are involved as well. We'll do something. It may be something like I pre-record, go sit with them so that they can decide and maybe they might have to have their lawyer look at it. I followed this case for a while. Happy New Year, Jay. Glad you're here. Thank you. All right, now I think I got them all.
Okay. So what's blue and not very heavy?
I don't know.
Light blue.
Stupid. So stupid. It's so dumb. I loved that and I hated it at the same time. All right. How much time we got left? An hour? Okay. Where's my outline? There it is. All right. That's it for AOC. Thank you, Mikey, for all the AOC clips. Appreciate that. Now we're on to Bay, and I apologize. I'm not going to be doing hand checks during this. Don't even ask for it. We don't kink shame around here. So we are on to Jasmine Crockett now. And this is Jasmine Crockett going after our favorite, Nancy Mace. Does anybody else? Okay, hear me out for a second. I know nobody feels bad for Nancy Mace. I get it, because she's like in a position of power. She should know better. But I do think that Nancy Mace is one of those people who has been a victim of the patriarchy and has tried to navigate it the best she can, and now she's just giving up. I think she is what we recognize in Republican politics, that you either do exactly what you're told or they bury you. And she tried a couple times to go against the grain, and the overlords were like, no. And so now she's like, all right, fine, I'll just make up stories about being assaulted and attack trans people now. And they're like, that's terrific. That's all we wanted about you. Make sure to play up the fact that you're a victim and then attack trans people. And she's like, got it. And now she's locked in. But I do feel like there were occasionally times you could see Nancy Mace like try, and then the Republicans were like, no, you can't say that. And so now she is who she is. And we get to watch Jasmine Crockett just eviscerate her.
Hearing, and I know one thing that I have learned so far is that while freshman orientation just ended, we need a course on what the census is for, because we have people sitting in Congress and have no idea what the census is for. And so
listen, Hazel, you can be complicit and you can also be a victim in your own way too. Like she's a victim of it and then she acquiesced. That's all I'm saying. I'm not giving her, there's no excuse for the things that she's doing. I'm just saying that it shows like how demoralizing it is to be a Republican and how impossible it is as a Republican to take like a nuanced approach to something, or to try and say like, hey, you know what, maybe we're a little bit too bigoted, and then they're like, you gotta shut down, you gotta shut up. Picture so small today.
I appreciate that you have talked about what the funding is for, but it seems like my colleagues really want to zero in on southern states. So let's talk about Texas for a second. And let's deal with them and their concerns about their districts. And let's also talk about the citizen.
By the way, the reason she's bringing up the census here is because the Republicans were all talking about how in California, I believe Arizona, and I can't remember what other state, they were saying that they picked up electoral votes and that there were increased numbers of people who were here illegally, undocumented immigrants. Now, undocumented immigrants are counted, so long as like somebody goes by and we can kind of figure out, they are counted in the census, and that's just for resources. And so they only talked about the blue states, and Jasmine's like, hello, red state here, let me tell you about the votes that we picked up from undocumented immigrants. And this is a doozy. This is one if you haven't been paying attention, like, pay attention to what she says here and look at how a corrupt state like Texas, how they took undocumented immigrants, used them for more votes, and gave them absolutely no representation. In fact, gave more representation to just like the white rich Republicans.
Situation. So I don't know how much you've paid attention to the election, but we do have an incoming administration, and we have a border czar who has said that they are going to deport everyone that is here and is not a citizen. They are planning to do mass deportations. In fact, in the state of Texas, our commissioner has offered up land so that they can put these camps there and send people out of our country. Now, if you start asking people, are you a citizen or not, and they're living in a home and somebody's threatening to go in and raid homes and take everybody out and send them back to wherever they came from, I mean, I would imagine that may make people say, never mind, I'm not going to fill this out. But I mean, has that been your finding or no?
We have conducted research that shows that there can be selective inclusion of individuals who reside in a residence because of
Exactly, because you've got the federal government that is asking this question, and it's the same federal government that is threatening to go and yank people out of their schools, their homes, and things like that. And then we just had a conversation where we were talking about how many voters. Listen, when you're counting people, you're not just counting voters. You count children, don't you?
Correct.
You count a lot of people that aren't necessarily voters, and I want to make sure that we really get to the nitty-gritty on Texas, because this is hilarious to me. Texas added 2 seats, and
I've never wanted to be a number 2 pencil more in my life.
in 2020, according to the census, and we know that there was a significant undercount, specifically in Texas for a combination of reasons, but we know that specifically Texas added 4 million people. Of those 4 million people, do you want to take a guess at how many were Anglos? Just a guess.
I'd say a majority.
180,000. That's it, of 4 million. 95% of the people that were added, and we know that when it comes to minority populations, they tend to be undercounted. So get this, we added 4 million people. They were people of color. Texas got 2 new seats. So they took those black and brown and Asian bodies And guess what? Do you think that we got a new black, brown, or Asian seat? Somehow, the way that they do their Republican math in the state of Texas, that amounted to 2 new white seats. Guess what? White Republican seats. We got 2 new Republican seats out of 4 million people of color. So let me tell you, they love to use our bodies to apportion us in an inaccurate way. All right. So when we talk about our districts, I also want to talk about something.
So just the way that you do that, just so we're clear, is you have the census basically said, because you have this population, this is how many electoral votes you get. And in Texas, that meant they could do 2 new districts. Let me show you a map of Texas, their districts. Let me show you what this looks like. It was baffling. It was impossible when leading up to the election, trying to figure out like who was going to win in Texas. Look at the shape of these districts. Now, this is the current congressional districts. You'll see through here, like down at the Panhandle, it's light blue. But look at these blue districts here. That's 1, 2, 3 districts. Where Austin is. So you see, I can't get there. Sorry. There's no way to highlight it. See where that just popped up? See where this little popped up? All right, right there. There's like this little blue strip, and there are 3 legislative districts there. That's called gerrymandering. That type of drawing doesn't make any fucking sense. It makes no fucking sense for the lines to be drawn in that way. And then you see over here in Houston, it's the same way. They don't expand it. Look at how small these blue districts are around big cities. And why? Because in the suburbs, they don't want the suburb vote to count with the city vote. And that's how they gerrymander the shit out of this. So when out of the 4 million people that were added to the census, a very small percentage of those would have been like white conservative Texans. And yet, when they created new districts, they made 2 more districts that had been gerrymandered, that there were enough white conservative Republicans that they became Republican districts. I don't know how you explain that any way other than racism. And if there's a Republican here, please explain it to me. How do you take nearly 4 million people of color and say, great news, now you're represented by white Republicans? How does that work? How do people in Texas look at themselves and say, yeah, this is right? Republicans would never, ever win an election if they weren't allowed to cheat. When I said they cheat, this is what I mean. And they're allowed to cheat because then the courts allowed them to cheat. The courts have repeatedly said, yeah, well, it's states' rights, brothers. What they mean is states are allowed to deny people representation. That's what they're saying. No taxation without representation, except for states' rights, in which case, fuck it, do whatever you want. That's what they have ruled over. They just ruled it in North Carolina. They've ruled it in Texas over and over again. They've ruled it here in Arizona. Republicans would not win elections. They would almost never. I mean, maybe it would be interesting to see what happened in this election if they would have still won without gerrymandering. I don't know. I'd have to look at it. They did win the popular vote this time, so it's possible. But for the most part, Republicans would not be winning these elections. And it's just, this is America. This is America, where we consistently take groups who are underrepresented and say, you're not getting representation. In fact, we're going to give you less representation because because the truth is Republicans are afraid that if they ever become a minority, that they will be treated the way that they treat minorities, that people will gerrymander, that people will rig systems against them. Everything about the Republican Party is just a fear that people will do what is done to them or what they've done to others. You look at the foreign policy from conservatives. The foreign policy from conservatives is we have to be tough. People need to be afraid of us. Why? Why do people need to be afraid of us, conservatives? Because of what we've done. Because we've done shit all around the world that people want retribution for. So it's like it's this self-sustaining war machine, right? You convince all the Republicans that you need somebody who's willing to go to war and be tough because people hate us, but they hate us because of what conservatives have done historically across the world. And it's a never-ending cycle. And it's the same thing here with gerrymandering. What conservatism is fear. They may not be listed as synonyms, but politically, conservatism and fear are synonyms. You can replace conservatism with the word fear in virtually any instance, and it still makes sense. Why do we want to cut taxes? Because they're afraid of the government. What are they afraid of with the government? Why are they afraid of an outsized government? Well, because the government tells you that you don't get to bring your church and put it in school. Because the government tells you that you don't get to dictate how somebody can openly identify. The government tells you that your religious beliefs can't dictate other people's marital status. And they're afraid of that. Why? Because they're like, hey, we've been fighting against these people so long. We've been fighting to keep rights out of other people's hands for so long that if we ever become a minority, maybe, just maybe, people will do to us what we did to them. And when you put conservatism in that perspective, it really makes a lot of fucking sense. I think sometimes we want to say, like, you're racist, you're bigoted, you're whatever. And all of that stuff can be true. But the root cause of all of it is cowardice and fear. They fear retribution. They know the things that have been done. That's why they don't want to teach real history. That's why in this country, like, we can't acknowledge that half of our country wanted to keep slaves, and they fought a war about it. And then after the war that they fought about it, like years later, we're like, well, let's see if we can soften that, and we'll start putting up statues of Confederate soldiers. Like, we have enemy statues because we don't want to admit that a lot of people in this country, especially in the South, that all of their relatives were racist. And that they didn't want to see everybody as equal. And by teaching that in history, it's a reminder that their relatives were pieces of shit. Guess what? It is okay to abandon your family. It is okay to abandon your relatives. And if you don't want to abandon them, it's okay to tell the truth about them. But the reason they don't want any of this is because they don't want to acknowledge that they are part of something that hurts people. God forbid what the tyrant is going to do to this country. I'm a little more hopeful. Just because in speaking with conservatives lately, I find that they're also afraid, and they're willing to admit it post-election. But I do think conservatives are also very concerned about an oligarchy. Here's a very underreported story. Remember Tony Bobolinsky, who basically has now been discovered to be not only a total fraud, but also basically said, yeah, I was lying. Jasmine Crockett was early on Bobolinsky, and she is probably one of 3 people who made it clear that Bobolinsky shouldn't be trusted. And this is one of the moments that kind of ended this let's impeach Joe Biden talk.
First of all, Mr. Bobolinsky, do you know who Elections LLC is? Yeah.
Mac. Well, it's not a who.
Okay, well, do you know what it is?
Yes, it's a LLC.
Okay, and is it the LLC that your attorney works for?
I believe so, yes.
You believe so, okay. So at this point in time, I'd ask unanimous consent to enter into the record a document indicating that the law firm representing Tony Bobolinsky was paid $10,000 as recently as January of this year by the Save America PAC, which you may recognize as Donald Trump's PAC.
Without objection.
Thank you. Now, so far...
Just to be clear there, Donald Trump paid the legal fees of somebody who was caught lying repeatedly about Joe Biden. This happened multiple times during the Biden presidency, where either Donald Trump's PAC or people associated with Donald Trump were paying witnesses to lie on the stand to try and get Joe Biden impeached. I just want to also point out there are 0 instances of anybody on the left paying somebody to lie on the stand to impeach Donald Trump twice. Multiple witnesses were paid by either Trump's PAC, and again, he gets to have that PAC because the Supreme Court has ruled that's okay, and that apparently is an admissible expense for a PAC. They can just pay for witnesses who are going to testify against political opponents. But again, it's the weaponization of the Department of Justice, right? This is all fine.
In this hearing, it has felt like the worst episode of The Apprentice. I'm sure you're familiar with that show. It seems like my colleagues and maybe you and some others are trying to become the next vice president of the United States of America. You're auditioning or something like that because Mr. Bobulinski, I know that you take exception to the fact that your credibility has been called into question over and over. But when someone comes to testify under oath, whether it's before this committee, behind closed doors, or in person, then we have to evaluate someone's credibility. And sir, I definitely have always had issues with your credibility, as I know that you are very well aware of. So let me remind you of what happened behind closed doors.
Well, you should ask Ro Khanna about my credibility.
I haven't asked you a question. Okay?
You are?
When I haven't. So when I ask you a question, that's when you answer. Otherwise, I'm talking. So,
excuse me?
With my
His
time,
name sounds made
because
up.
it's my time, I want to be clear that when we were behind closed doors, you called a number of people liars. You called the Wall Street Journal liars. You called Cassidy Hutchinson a liar. You called the FBI a liar. You called Rob Walker a liar. You called James Gilliar a liar. You called Hunter Biden a liar. You called Jim Biden a liar. And just today, you added to your list, you called my colleague, Congressman Mr. Goldman, a liar as well. It seems like, according to you, the only person that's telling the truth is you, and everyone else is lying. But I want to move on to something else.
Is that a question?
It's
or?
not a question. You'll know when I ask you a question, I promise.
Thank you.
So the other thing that I want to talk about is the fact that my colleague from the other side of the aisle talked about the company that we keep. And she wanted to go through a list of people that she felt like were bad company because right now the majority has been relying upon the testimony of someone who's currently sitting in federal prison. And we know that your company is the company of somebody who's been found liable of fraud, as well as defamation, as well as sexual assault, and for whatever reason can't pay his bills at this point in time.
She said you're a broke bitch.
I'm going to ask Mr. Parnas, so this is a question to him. Are you aware if Trump had any associates that have been found guilty of anything?
Yes, lots of them.
Lots of them.
Me included.
You included. Okay, so when you were called here to testify, you weren't called here to testify for any other reason than to tell the truth. Is that correct?
Yes, Congresswoman.
Now, we started this whole sham off because of the 1023. And that was debunked by you, was it not?
Yes, Congresswoman.
Way before we started this impeachment inquiry. And you mentioned a number of times this guy by the name of Rudy Giuliani.
Yeah. Oh, I've heard of him.
Now, you know, everybody is so stressed about the fact that Hunter ain't here today. But, you know, Hunter came and testified behind closed doors for over 6 hours. And every single one of them, they weren't limited to 5 minutes. They could add.
Low frequency, 100% true. Jasmine would have been my biggest fear while I was a conservative. 100% true. That is our was our greatest fear.
That's whatever they wanted to. And there's a full transcript
besides
of
tan
his testimony.
suits.
So I don't know what else they wanted to do besides the fact that they wanted to put on a show. But let me tell you something. This whole thing is based upon something that Giuliani came up with.
Yes.
And we tried to subpoena him that's what I remember. If anybody else remember, we asked, we said, hey, we should subpoena Giuliani. But you know, kind of like when we were trying to get his cell phone, they shut it down, right? Like they don't want the facts. But you would agree with me that considering the fact that you were working under Rudy Giuliani at the time that you went over to Ukraine, that he has maybe some valuable information that he could offer this committee as to whether or not there's anything that we should be investigating in the first place.
Absolutely, Congresswoman. I wish that this committee would subpoena Rudy Giuliani, put him under oath alongside me to get to the bottom of the truth of what actually happened in Ukraine and to the manipulation that Trump and Giuliani and the team went to do.
I agree with you, but somehow it doesn't look like we're going to get there, and I thank you for your time. But I'll yield.
Poor Bobolinsky didn't get his time to respond. Again, going back and watching this stuff, with the additional knowledge of like what's happened and what has become clear, it's pretty wild. It's been fun to actually go back and look. Like, we were vindicated in all of this, and Democrats were right, and they were careful, and they got their facts right on all of these. Now, there's still some dumb Republicans who are out there arguing that that Joe Biden was some criminal mastermind. He and Hunter Biden were like criminal masterminds and they should be thrown in prison. But like, those are the dumb ones. They've been validated that they were correct. This was absolutely a hoax attempt of an impeachment. And they only did it so that nobody would notice that they didn't do any legislating at all. They just sat with thumbs in assholes and tried to impeach Joe Biden. They did nothing for the American people. Not one they didn't do, like, name something this Congress did good for the American people. I can't, off the top of my head, I'm sure there is one, but I can't think of one. They did virtually nothing but try and impeach Joe Biden. And why? Because, again, it's all about money. You fundraise off this. If you have a viral clip saying Joe Biden should be put in jail, or you have a viral clip saying that Donald Trump is innocent and the DOJ was weaponized against him, you get clicks, your fundraising goes up, you get a spot on Fox News, you get to go on Jesse Waters' show and talk about how much you love Donald Trump, and then you get more donations. Like, it's just so transparently a cult that they spent the last 4 years just trying to defend a criminal, and they did absolutely no legislating. They just were like, we got to make sure that our criminal candidate gets back in office. Let's see. I don't know. A 13-minute clip. Let's find. Let's do this one. This is Jasmine laying into Republicans over FEMA funding, which I loved because we're running a little low on time. Let me see if I can put this over here. All right.
It's my understanding. Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. That over 671,000 households impacted by Hurricane Helene have received over $503 million from FEMA's Serious Needs Program. And over 218,000 households impacted by Hurricane Milton have received over $145 million. Yet and still, we had members on this committee. It looks like we had, there were 82 members that opposed the bill to fund when we knew that this was coming, thanks to NOAA. And 19 of the 26 Republicans on this oversight committee voted against the bill to keep FEMA funded, and 9 are in states that were directly hit. I don't understand why we come in and pretend that we have all these issues with your agency, and I thank you for your service, when you don't want to fund it.
One of the things that Republicans are really good at doing, oh shit, drop down. And you'll see it here with lives. I see it with my friends, is they're really good at saying like, oh, the government sucks at this. Oh, the government sucks. Look at these people who didn't get what they needed. Look how the government failed. And conservatives will spend all of their time talking about that. What they won't talk about is specifically when it comes to FEMA funding. Like, you guys remember, that was the thing. That was the thing we were getting hit over the head with over and over and over and over again from Republicans. And it was their folks who voted against FEMA funding. We literally would not have the FEMA funding if Republicans had got their way. This says there's a warning for verified natural disaster info now. I've never seen that one before. And yet they're all out there talking about how they're sending money to Ukraine when they could be sending it to these people. Well, the Republicans voted to send funding to Ukraine. They didn't vote for the FEMA funding, which is ironic. The thing that they did vote through, they criticized Joe Biden for, and the thing that they didn't vote through, they blamed him for. Right? Like, their willingness to lie is what baffles me. Like, just like, as a person, how do you go out knowing you voted against FEMA funding And then you go in front of the press and you talk about how Joe Biden didn't get FEMA funding to these people, which he did, by the way. That in and of itself was a lie. But if you had your way, there would have been none. Their willingness to lie about anything and everything is why it reminds me of cult behavior, is because it's seen as like, yeah, we know what the plan is behind closed doors, but outside, like, it's the right thing to do. We can't tell everybody what the plan is openly. We have to play politics. And so they go out there and they play politics and they lie to you about what they've done. They lie to you about what's important to them. And they get their base all upset. And then their base gets to come over here and say, look, you guys didn't do anything. And if we bring up the fact that they didn't vote for it, they don't care because the damage is already done. Nobody's going to go and check the rolls of the votes. And this is where I think it's hard, because we say Republicans don't play by the rules. We play by the rules, and that's how they win. And it's true. But do we really want to be the people who don't play by the rules? Like, I don't want to be part of a group who is lying to their constituents because we know better than the constituents. I just think that there's going to come a point when Republicans are tired of being lied to. And I think a lot of them are getting there. I think bringing in Elon and Vivek and putting a bunch of billionaires in the cabinet, I think that has turned off Republicans, or at least like alerted them like, uh-oh, this isn't good. This isn't good. This is the thing we didn't like. This is the thing we were against. Jasmine here educating the MAGA folks on the definition of oppression, which is, again, beautiful. I like these glasses too.
Idea of diversity, because all of us bring something different to the table. But you consistently said over and over the word oppression, and every time that you said it, it was almost as if I was hearing nails on a chalkboard, because it seems like you don't understand the definition of oppression, and I'd ask you to just refer to Google to help you out. Oppression is the prolonged, cruel, or unjust treatment or control. That is the definition of oppression. And so as I sit here as a Black woman who practiced civil rights, let me tell you, the reason that my colleagues wanted to make sure you understood the same Black history that your side of the aisle wants to delete out of classrooms is because you can then misuse words like oppression. There has been no oppression for the white man in this country. You tell me which white men were dragged out of their homes. You tell me which one of them got dragged all the way across an ocean and told that you are going to go and work. We are going to steal your wives. We are going to rape your wives. That didn't happen. That is oppression. We didn't ask to be here. We're not the same migrants that y'all constantly come up against. We didn't run away from home. We were stolen. So yeah, we are going to sit here and be offended when you want to sit here and act like, and don't let it escape you that it is white men on this side of the aisle telling us, people of color on this side of the aisle, that y'all are the ones being oppressed, that y'all are the ones that are being harmed. That's not the definition of oppression. You tell me the prolonged, cruel, or unjust treatment that you've had, and we can have a conversation.
You could start with Exodus.
The final thing that I will say on this particular issue.
Exodus?
Two things. There is an article from the...
Did he just say Exodus? Is Moses Exodus? Is that what he's... Is Moses in Exodus? By the what book is... Okay. Who's going to tell him? Who's going to tell him that who's going to tell him that Moses isn't white? Who's going to tell him? Jesus Christ. That was Ghost Bus Higgins coming in. Well, we can start with Exodus. Yeah, we could. We could start with Exodus. And I know that your coloring book where you learned the Bible had all the characters were white, but history tells us that Moses was not a white person. So, yeah, well, maybe we should start with Exodus. Maybe that's what we should do with Republicans, is be like, let me explain who the people in Exodus are.
Guardian and it is a little old. It's from 2021, so I apologize. But it said that back then, just 3 years ago, white men represent 30% of the population, but 62% of office holders. These are the issues that we are constantly looking at and recognizing and trying to say, is this just? I can't even tell you how many white men have served in this chamber, but I can tell you that I am only the 55th black woman to be elected to Congress. And so when you want to talk about history and pretend as if it was so long ago, it wasn't. Because again, I am just number 55. Finally, when we start to talk about what do these numbers do as we're trying to say the diversity, equity, and inclusion is the problem, the reality is that when it comes to financial performance, companies with more diverse workforces are more likely to outperform their competitors. Companies in the top quartile for racial diversity are 35% more likely to outperform their peers on profitability. Companies with diverse executive teams are 25% more likely to generate greater profits. Diverse companies earn 2.5 times higher cash flow per employee. Diversity works. And until you can show me data that says otherwise, I think that we need to go back to being a country that listens to experts and gets out of our feelings and recognizes, again, that racism is real in this country. And until we stop pretending that it's not, we will not solve the problems that we are consistently facing. And that will bring real unity that we seek when we're looking for a more perfect union.
She's good. She's so good. She's just an incredible messenger. She's an incredible orator too. Like her ability to speak is maybe unmatched, especially on subjects that she's passionate about. But I do just sorry in advance to my Christian friends. I'm not trying to be disrespectful. But here is somebody who's experienced racism. Her family has experienced racism. She's accurately depicting the history of racism in our country. And Ghost Bus Higgins, forget the fact that Moses wasn't white. Let's remember the fact that that story isn't real. Remember, his way of saying we're the same is this fictional story of a man who spoke to a bush, who then wrote 10 rules down that already existed in society at that point. Everybody already had those rules. Wrote them down, came down, and then was kicked out. And then he came to the Red Sea and he's like, shit, look at all this water. And his people are like, what are we going to do? And he's like, I got an idea. I have this stick. And he's like, bah! And then the Red Sea was like, ha ha! And it opened up. And then he walked through it. Ghost Bus Higgins had to go back, thousands of years to a fictional story about non-white people to explain to find a time when it was white men who were being persecuted against. He didn't even get it right. But not only did he get it wrong, it was also a fake story. It was also a fictional story. That's how far back he had to go, and he still didn't get there. He still couldn't find his peace. That's just from an outsider's perspective, from a Republican perspective, to know that nobody else, no other Republican was able to come up with an example of a time when it was white men who were being, what was the exact word? She was oppressed. She said, like, when were you oppressed? And they went to the Bible. Nobody else had a word. There is no oppression. I can tell you, there's no oppression. And it's pretty fucking smooth sailing being a white guy, even for me. Like the amount of privilege I have to be able to just speak my views. Like I have the ability to speak my views more than most. Right? Nobody ever runs me off for speaking my views outside of like other white conservative people. That's when I get run off. And there's no repercussions. There's no real repercussions for me. I get the benefit of that. But that was pretty good for Ghost Bus Higgins. That's what happens. I mean, you have so many people in Congress who literally, like, they're there based on their gut. I'm going to legislate based on my gut. That's not a good sign. Yeah, I'm seeing it a little bit, Jen. Let me check comments one more time, and then I'll play one more video, and we'll call it a day. think we're okay. Some came through. Bree says, me trying to see if you'll part my legs like the Red Sea. I would have guessed you went burning bush with that, but I like that one. So I absolutely love Jasmine Crockett, but I need you to explain how you're going to handle her if you can't even handle me. She might be better served with me. Yeah, she probably is better served with you. The irony of Jasmine Crockett is I love her, and I think she can do much better. So it's just wishful. I know it's not possible. So she can and will do better, which is devastating for me to say, but it is true. Okay, I got all those. I'll do one more. Typical Brie W. You know, but the thing about Jasmine, like, she just her aura, like, I went to that event in Phoenix where you had, I don't remember who were the name of the actor and the actress that were there, and Jessica Alba was there. Who's the lady from 100? I don't want to say 101 Dalmatians, but that's who played Cruella. Who do you guys remember? Yeah, Glenn Close was there, and then who were the other two speakers? Do you guys remember? Kerry Washington, right? Kerry Washington was there, and who's the dude that spoke? Jennifer Garner was not there. No, it was Jessica Alba. Michael Ealy, that's right. Yeah, thank you, Michael Ealy. What's his? Anyways, there were a lot of famous people there. Jasmine's the only one that like owned the room. Actually, Kerry Washington did a good job. Kerry Washington kind of owned the room too. But like when Jasmine Crockett started speaking, everybody just shut up. And she came out. She was there for 5 minutes. She owned the place and she got out. But like she is a powerful person. When she walks in a room, people take notice. When she speaks, people take notice. She just has that aura and when she's around, she's kind of the center. I would feel I did. You almost feel small, and she's like 4'10". She's tiny, and you somehow feel like she's 6 feet taller than you. She's an incredible person. Incredible. I mean, I don't know as a person. Incredible congresswoman. All right. This was 13 minutes. I don't know if we have 13 minutes. Yeah, we have exactly 13, but I wouldn't be able to stop it. Let's do. Oh, there was one more AOC, and then I'll do the rest tomorrow. We have a dumb white dudes. We have a whole bunch of Maxwell Frost. We have Lauren Boebert. So I've got stuff for tomorrow too. But let's finish with one more AOC that I didn't realize I skipped, and then we'll call it a day.
Administrator Regan.
The title AOC defends Administrator Regan regarding personal attacks. And is accused of stopping economic prosperity with regulation regarding PFAs dumping by massive corporations like DuPont and 3M. So here's just AOC doing what AOC always does, stands up for the good of the American people, stands up for those who don't have a voice. And of course, the conservatives are there to represent big corporations and capitalism.
You've been accused of sabotaging here the economic prosperity of this country for enforcing and introducing regulations about chemicals that this committee itself has investigated, such as PFAS. I'd like for us to dig into that a little bit. PFAS is a chemical byproduct of, and it's a chemical that's in almost everything. Teflon pans, workout gear, fire.
Does anybody know what PFAS stands for? Just while we're going, if PFAS, does anybody know what that stands for?
Extinguisher foam. What are some of the health consequences that we have seen as a result of elevated levels of PFAS for everyday Americans?
Well, you know, they range from various types of cancers, death. Mm-hmm. These carcinogenic elements are wreaking havoc on communities all across the country.
We've had.
I think we maybe got the answer. Polyfluoroalkyl substances, or it could be polyfluoro yada yada poly something. Thank you. Plastic's flammable as shit. So it's microplastics. So this is talking about the microplastics in our food and our water. Okay, thank you.
People from PFAS affected, especially PFAS affected communities,
that have had fertility issues. Is that correct?
Yes.
Testicular cancer.
Yes.
Is that correct?
That's a good point. Who said that? Where's Matt? He should like AOC. Good point, Carrie. Excellent callback. Matt, if you're still here, listen up.
Developmental delays in children. Is that consistent with what you've seen?
Yes.
Thyroid issues, increased risk of cancer, correct?
Yes.
And those people, those kids, those parents who are struggling to conceive now, that's who we respond to. That's who we answer to. Correct, Administrator Regan?
Absolutely.
The American people. Now, I want to name something. This isn't just economic prosperity. There are people and organizations and companies responsible for this. DuPont and 3M are two of the largest corporations that were responsible for PFAS dumping in the United States. Is that correct?
Yes.
Sorry, off topic, but one of the things that happens when people get filthy fucking rich is they become really goddamn weird because they're so removed from society, and literally whatever they want, they basically have access to. I don't know if anybody else, whenever I think of the DuPont family, I think of, I forget his name, the last like remaining DuPont guy. He sponsored like the United States Olympic wrestling team, and he would have everybody come train there. It was called, there's a movie about it. Steve Carell's in it. Steve Carell plays DuPont. Somebody help me on the name of that movie. It's, somebody help me with the name of that movie. Foxcatcher, thanks. Actually, one of my best friend's brother was the executive producer there. So I wound up seeing that early. Foxcatcher. That's the DuPont family. And a lot of times, one of the things we don't ever really talk about is how when you get really rich, you get really fucking weird. And that's when you start seeing a lot of stuff. I mean, look at Diddy's a good example. I mean, when whatever his name is, Epstein, a good example. People with that amount of money, like they just stop living in reality, and they have no understanding of like their impact on others. And that's one of the things I think we don't talk about is culturally how fucked up rich people wind up being all the time. Like most of the fucked up things that have happened in this world has been like a rich person being like, let's go for it. And they're like, well, he's rich. We must know what he's talking about.
Did they know that these chemicals were potentially toxic? Is that correct?
We believe they did.
And yet there are members here of this committee that want to defend the quote unquote economic right.
Good point, Lisa.
For a company to poison its people, the American people. Now, when we talk about economic prosperity, if you're a kid in the South Bronx, if you are a mom in rural Pennsylvania near a PFAS dumping site, who comes ahead when you get cancer and have a medical bill to pay? Who comes out ahead from that PFAS dumping? The CEO of DuPont or that mom? So when we talk about the bills and the prosperity that gets made from here and who has to pay that, we need to understand a very simple economic concept called externalities. Externalities, the costs of pollution, the cost of poisoning that are not factored into the profit margin of the corporation that's actually wreaking havoc on this planet. And when we talk about issues like climate change, it is at its core an issue of externalities, because ExxonMobil and all of these oil companies can afford to burn this planet to a crisp because it makes them a pile of money. Now, Administrator Regan, I want to thank you, because in the character attacks that you have experienced in this hearing, I know that you have spent your entire time and your entire federal service
Your time is up. I
protecting
appreciate
families
it
from
this
being
morning.
poisoned.
Thank you.
And I want to thank you for that. Project 2025 threatens.
I didn't know that. Thank you, Mastor. 3M is paying $10 billion for cleanup. DuPont is paying roughly $2 billion. Take it all. How's DuPont still even around? Take it all. Hull says, Hull said, PFAS is penis fart asshole shit. It's not. I don't think it's way off. That's so good. All right. That's where we're going to end it today, and I'll have more tomorrow. And I think going forward for the coming year, I think we'll talk more about this stuff. I think we're going to cover more of what's actually happening in Congress, because the one reminder that I had while watching these videos, and again, I want to thank the research team in the Discord. They are all volunteering to help. They put in, I mean, collectively hours of work to bring these clips. If you guys want to do W research team in the chat, that would be awesome. I can't thank you enough. But it's important to remember that we actually do have good litigators. We do have good representatives in Congress, and maybe what we can do a little bit better is amplify their message and amplify the work that they're actually doing. Because I do think a lot of us feel like that Congress is lost and they're not working for us. There are some that really are working as hard as they can for us. And imagine how frustrating it must be. I mean, we're frustrated time and time again. Imagine how frustrating it must be to be on the front lines. And for people, especially somebody like AOC or Jasmine Crockett, who are advocating for working class, who are advocating for the people who aren't represented by corporate money, who are advocating for the voiceless, and they are demonized and criticized and called communists and a danger to our country. Marjorie Taylor Greene says they should be strung up for treason. Imagine their frustration. I think it's probably it's the least we can do to try and amplify their message and take the work that they're doing outside of our districts and acknowledge it. And I think maybe some of this messaging hits home. I think that if we amplify this type of stuff and don't get distracted all the time because Donald Trump's going to say dumb shit every fucking day, that's going to be my goal in 2025, is to not let Donald Trump distract us from the fact that Republicans are selling us out, continue to sell us out, and there are good people in Congress who show up every day fighting for us, fighting for the average American, and I think we need to amplify their voices. But again, W research team, W all of you guys, thanks for all the support this last year, and I look forward to growing this next year. Hopefully at this time next year we come back, things look a little bit better. We've done a better job. Our messaging's more complete. And but just from the bottom of my heart, I want you guys to know how much it means to me that so many of you show up every day. I appreciate the messages when I'm not here, when it's clear that I'm having a bad day. I always get messages. I get sweet messages from people all the time, just telling me thank you. And it means a lot to me. And I'll just say this, pass that along to the other people in your life too. It goes a long way to tell people thank you for what they're doing. It gives people the motivation to go. For people like myself who aren't motivated by money, it means the world to me when somebody reaches out and tells me that they appreciate the effort that I'm putting in. So I want to thank all of you guys for that, for this last year. And I want to thank our moderator team. We have obviously our TikTok mods who do an incredible job. And then we have our a smaller group of moderators who have been together for a long time. And I 100% would have quit a long time ago if I didn't have this mod team. They're brilliant, they're supportive, and maybe more importantly, they're not afraid to tell me when I'm wrong. And then she's not here, so I can say that, or she's not up here, so I can say it. But just a special thank you to Jen. Jen takes all of the shittiest parts, all the shit that I don't want to do, all the shit that I can't do, and she makes this thing run. And rarely does she complain, and and I'd say probably every time she has complained, she was right. So W Jen as well, and I look forward to working with all of you guys, seeing you guys every day. But again, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for allowing me to do this as a job, and to show up every day and do something that I love. I will see you tomorrow morning and every other weekday morning, besides Mondays, 9:30 a.m. to 1 Pacific Standard Time, right here on TikTok. Remember, if you're not subscribed to the YouTube, you will not have access to view our live from last night. We played trivia. I told the rug story. You have to be a subscriber on YouTube, which is free. You have to do that in order to watch that video. So head over to YouTube. While you're there, like a video. And then you can follow me on X, Blue Sky, Facebook, Instagram. And I think that's all of them. And if you'd like an invite to our Discord, shoot any moderator a message. I'll see you guys bright and early tomorrow morning, 9:30 a.m. to 1 Pacific Standard Time right here on